All right. Ooh, top chat. No, we want all the chat, live chat. All right. Are we? I think we're going. I believe we're going. I believe this is it. I believe. I believe. Let's do it. Whatever. Hey, good morning. Good morning. Happy Sunday. Welcome to yet another episode of Red Stone Lapis Lazuli. It is I, your host, Pogo Kiddo. And what have I for you today? Oh boy. Oh boy. Hey, where am I? I'm inside safety. And then I come out here. And yes, it's the swamp. I'm in the swamp. It's nighttime. I can't see shit. And it's like, here, let me go to sleep real quick. All right. So, what do we have today for the show? Goodness. Morning time. Yeah, this is the mangrove swamp. I cleared out this area using a mod to help chop down these trees, because these trees are ridiculous to chop down, these mangrove trees. But then what you find underneath is that there's not really a solid ground. It's all like either mud or roots or water. So like, and if I wander too far away from my clearing, I will get lost. Guaranteed. I mean, look how easy it is to get lost. Like, where am I? Right? So it's so easy to get lost in this swamp. So yeah. But I did this with a purpose. I came here with a purpose. I had to get the mangrove wood in order to properly do my Japanese my pagoda, the temple, the Shinto shrine, because that's what I'm working on now, is the Shinto shrine. Because I did the first half, which is the Buddhist part, but now I need to do the Shinto part, because remember, the two religions coexist in Japan. Every place there's a Buddhist temple, there's going to be a Shinto shrine. So that nobody is left out. Everybody has access to the holy sites. Everybody gets to do their thing. Nobody is like, saying this is exclusively my area. Everybody gets to use it. I think that's what makes it great. Yeah, so I made a little rail line to get here. Because, as you know, safety first. And this is a pretty dangerous place to be, the Nether. I mean, it's great to travel quickly, right? I can travel thousands of blocks pretty quickly going through the Nether, but the Nether is a dangerous place. So you have to take a lot of care and to not die. For example, in this area coming up here, it's wide open, and I'm afraid that a ghast will come out and shoot my track and then blow it up, and then I will fall off into the lava like a cartoon. It'd be terrible. So yeah, no. I'm waiting for the day when this place in here becomes filled with magma cubes, because I brought with me a frog. I have a frog. So with this frog, I will transform the magma cubes into frog lights. Frog lights. So yeah, happy Sunday morning, happy Sunday morning, happy Sunday morning. What other little changes have I made? I mean, I made this little tiny thing here, big deal. It's just an easy way of getting up so I can see. what's going on with my train station. I was having a hard time like getting access to it, and now it'd be easy. It's easy now to check this stuff out, to make sure everything's working correctly, which it is. Everything's working as it should. But I also discovered I'm incredibly lazy. So I created this, a train station right underneath my thing here, because I was so tired of walking all the way to the mob farm. You know the mob farm on the other side of my base, and it's way on the other side of the peninsula. I just got lazy. I'm just tired of walking, so I made a train line, because I am that lazy. Yes. Ta-da! But now I can use this vantage point to like take note of how much I've accomplished so far. I mean, yeah, there's that train line right there. There's the train line that goes to the world spawn. There's a bridge way over there that you can't see. There's like the short direction to the trading hall. The trading hall itself, which is pretty cool. Yeah, and I haven't even shown you up in the mountain grove yet. Let's go do that. Let me go do that. But you see, this is like a nice thing here to help repair my tools. All those experience just goes back into the tool to repair it, so I don't have to continually remake the tools. But I'll work on that later. So lazy. Now, if I had an elytra, I would have just flown flown around my base. But that's no fun. That's like not fun at all. Look how much more fun it is to ride rails. I mean, you get to see all the stuff that's going on in the base. Plus these lights, right? Oh man, these lights are great. With the shader. Yeah. Okay, and then to go to the warded grove, I want to show you what I've been doing there. I'm not done yet, of course, right? It's still a work in progress. But let me show you my work in progress. So yeah, what a week. It's been a crazy, crazy week. My goodness. Yeah, a lot's been going on this week. And I think it's been particularly revealing of the two different directions, the two different visions present in the world today. Two different visions. La la la. First of all, isn't that cool? Hell yeah, it's cool. A Torii gate. So a Torii gate is a Shinto I think. And then I needed that wood, that mangrove wood, to make it red. Isn't that great? It's a red Torii gate. The right color red, and not that purple stuff, but like red. Yes, I love it. I dig it. I had to get mangrove wood for that. So yeah, that was a pain. And then this gate here is not quite of the right color. It's of that other kind of wood. And then I'm starting to make an area up there, right? You see the heart? Love. So this is why this is a Shinto shrine spot, because you can look up there and see the heart in the sky. Isn't this great? So I'm gonna make a little Shinto shrine right here. And then you have all your fishies. Oops. You have all your fishies in the water, in the pond. And then the salmon, because they're salmon, they like to go up the waterfall. In fact, all the fish do now, I think. I don't know why. They're like, we're all salmon now. Salmon solidarity. And then, yeah, they just hang out up here. The salmon aren't even doing it. Ah, it was the regular fish that did it. Ah, that's funny. Ah, Salmon's like, it's your turn to climb the waterfall. We're done. Ah, all right. Anyways, yeah, this is like my nice little spot I'm working on. I have to study on how to make a little Shinto shrine, but they're tiny. They're not nearly as big as that thing. I can do it like right here. So yeah, that'd be cool, and it's the good spot. It's where the heart in the mountain, the heart of the mountain. So that's cool. I dig that heart there. And then of course on the other side, we have the Zen, the dry garden. I'll continue like working on this and expanding it. Because it's only like, yeah, look at these walls. can't be having these big dirt walls and stuff. Oh, I started adding other trees too, because it was like a monoculture here. It used to be, it was like a monoculture, really, for real. It was only these birch trees everywhere in the grove. So bit by bit, I'm starting to add other trees, like a spruce tree, and that's an oak tree. And I'm gonna I have to get the rest, like the jungle tree, the mangrove tree, all the trees. I want to put every tree here in this grove to make it like a sanctuary. every tree is gonna be in this grove. Yay! So that's what I'm working on. That's what I've been working on. For the, oh yeah, obviously, right? I found a cherry blossom biome. Maybe I should go to the cherry blossom biome. But yeah, I got cherry trees for cherry wood, but the cherry wood is pink, so it wouldn't really work for a Torii gate because it's pink, and I needed that rich red color. That's a good red color. I dig it. So yeah, and then this waterfall is kind of dark. I need to figure out a way to light it up. Anyways, yeah, here, let's go off to the cherry blossom biome because it's a new biome. Like I updated Minecraft for this stuff, so I better like use it. It was a pain in the butt to update Minecraft, let me tell you. Because not only am I updating Minecraft, but I also have to wait for all of the mods to be updated as well. And mods aren't made by companies, they're made by individuals who provide free labor. So you can't just go to the people providing free labor and say, hurry up, because you're not paying for nothing. They're doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. So fortunately for me, one of these mod authors updated the mod that I really like, which is called borderless mining. It allows me to run Minecraft in a borderless full screen window, so I can tab out. Without it minimizing and freezing the game. Because that sucks. I don't know what's going on. The game's frozen. Nothing happens. Okay. Cherry blossom biome. Not there. I think it's this one. Oh, I didn't make a rail line yet. Maybe here, let me go make a rail line. Because this too is scary. What do I got here? Nothing. I'm not 15 minutes into it. It takes about a while for people to get interested in what's happening on my channel. I have no powered rail, dude. I'm eating all my gold. Uh-oh. Seriously, I'm almost out of gold. I'm gonna have to make a rail, like a gold farm pretty soon. Sacre bleu! A gold farm. Yeah, real soon, man. Because you're done making rails. Yeah. Oh, damn. Okay. Well, that's next on the agenda is to get some powdered rails or or more gold because I'm out of gold. I'm out of gold. What did I do? No. I'll just do like that. That's fine. Fine. I'll do it this way then. I'm gonna need 2 buttons. Give me stone. Stone for buttons. No, it doesn't give me the option of making a button. I have to make it for the first time. Oh, it's so annoying. Okay. Bones. Oh, alright, hold on to that. Or, no. Get out of here. I need iron for rails. Why so many rails? Because I'll need them. Okay. Basic rails. Basic. Basic rails. Okay, let's go. So, as the way these rails go, you can go with 3 boosting rails and a full minecart, a loaded minecart, you can go about 32 without losing your momentum. So you go 32 and then stop. And then add some powder rails. 1, 2, 3. And then you repeat. Rinse and repeat. So hopefully I'm not attacked while doing this. Or I don't fall down. Or like any other of the bad things that could possibly happen to me. And you see how I have a hard time placing rails or placing blocks? It's because I'm missing a mod called accurate block placement, which fixes that kind of thing. So like I have to double check because a lot of times it doesn't like actually put my tracks down. And there'll be holes there. And so when I try to come back and I find like there's a hole and like I get stuck in an uncomfortable position. La la la. So yeah. uh 1, 2, 3. All right, now it gets easier because I'm inside of stuff. So yeah, generally speaking, 33 and then you can go 32. There are things that will kind of wreck your deal, like curves. Curves will make you slow down and take your momentum away. So that's why I break out all the corners. Okay. Almost there. One, two, three. One, two, three. Why this kind of works out. Kinda. What am I doing here? All right. Good enough. I don't know what's happening. All right. There. Okay, so there's that part. We're going to make one of these really quick so I can build other stuff. What would I... Oh, like a minecart. Minecart. Which I'll throw down there, and then I'll make a bunch of levers. Because all those powered rails gotta be powered. Else they're not gonna be powered. Boom. Doo. All right. Bit by bit. Oh, I'm stuck. It won't go. Oh no, it went the wrong way. What are you doing? It's supposed to go the other way, dude. The other way. Alright, I'm just gonna run. This is like annoying. Alright. Just gonna run through really quick. So maybe a bit more Minecraft than you were anticipating this morning, but that's okay. This will draw people in. They'll be like, what is this? I'm like, this is Minecraft. And then I'll be like, and there's more. Ta-da. Oh, look. This is the guys I was looking for. So I'm gonna unleash the beast now, dudes. Your time is over. Get ready. Ow. I need you guys to be little. Because you're too big. If you're too big, the frog can't eat you. Okay, Froggy. I should have brought a leash with me. Go that way, dude. Yeah, there you go. Keep going that way. Look how many tasty things there are over there for you. There you go. Now he's going toward it. Go for it, guy. Is there a lead in here? Here, come to me, guys. Before the frog jumps into the portal. Here, go this way, man. You're going the wrong way. There you go. He got it. He got it. That's what I'm looking for. These frog lights. Knock yourself out, buddy. Ah, there we go. Ah, finally. It's been... man, it took forever to get these things. I've never had them, actually, in survival. So, hey. Oh, wait, that's a... So, yeah, I can make a farm. A frog light farm. Man, in here. Oop. Dude, these frogs just eat non-stop. It's like, I can't eat anymore. Oh wait, no, he can. Go, frog, go! Ah! Oh, dude, yeah, don't mess with the frogs. Look at them. I will eat your soul. That's right, he will. And gives you a cool block. Oh, look at that color. That's so cool. It's not the same color as a regular light. It's like kind of reddish. My plan worked. Oh, yes. Good job, frog. you done well. Alright, so here, let me go back to my cherry blossom biome. I'm supposed to, like... That was what this was supposed to be all about, remember? Remember? Well, hey, that pleased me. I have a bunch of, like, blocks I never had before. And they're glowy blocks. Oh, no. What's this? A spot that you didn't... Because it missed this spot by itself. See what I mean? I need that mod, accurate block placement, so it doesn't do stuff like that. But I can't do it myself. I have to wait until this guy does it for free. So when's he gonna do it? Whenever he feels like it. Or she. Or they. I don't know. Right? Whenever they feel like it, that's when they'll do it. I mean, yeah. So yeah, I suppose I didn't even go into the cherry blossom biome, man. Okay, this is the cherry blossom biome that I meant to show you, but I got distracted. Oh look, it's raining. So actually the cherry blossom biome was up on that hill. Down here, it's just this stuff. Cherry blossoms. I turned off the here, let me turn back on the particle effects. Options, video settings, particles. Performance, no, general, quality, general. What am I looking for, man? Particles. There you go. I have minimal. Let me try decreased. All right. I chopped down some of the cherry trees. I cannot tell a lie. I chopped down cherry trees. I wanted their wood. But yeah, the nice thing about being here is that the petals are falling. So it's like perpetually spring. Perpetual spring. Ooh, a sheep. And there's even bees here. Because look at all these flowers, right? Isn't it great? Yeah. Wool. Anyways, okay. So yeah, cherry blossom biome. I haven't built anything here, but it looks nice, right? And this is where I got the flowers and stuff. Ugh. Shift in perspective, that's all. It's just a shift in perspective. So yeah, what's been going on? I feel a bit of vindication now. A little bit of vindication. For years and years and years, I have been going off about how Donald Trump conspired with Vladimir Putin to overthrow the United States. Vladimir Putin's goal was to not only overthrow the United States, weaken his number one competitor, but also to take over, to destroy NATO, and to take over. Yeah, only the frog remains. His goal was to take over NATO, or to destroy NATO and take over Ukraine, and eventually the rest of Europe, right? He wanted to restore the old Soviet Union. Remember, the old Soviet Union went all the way up to East Germany. He wanted to recapture East Germany. So that's a cool light. It's a different color light, and it's a block light. So like, I can stick it into places. Like, I can stick it in. Like, where am I? Oh, on the floor. I can stick it in the floor, literally in the floor. Oh, that looks cool. Wild. It's like a pink light, and this is like a red light. Hey, that's cool. The way they have two different color lights. That's cool. So yeah, so for years and years and years, I've been like, I've been telling people, like, shit's going down, dude, shit's going down. And for the longest time, in the beginning, people did not believe me. Oh my God. People hated me. People heaped all sorts of shit on top of me. It was absurd. It was absurd how much shit I got from people. Let's see. Oh no, lapis lazuli, redstone lapis lazuli. I've been doing this show forever. Show images. Let's go. Is this like the earliest one? 2021? No, 19. 20. What's this stuff? Oh yeah! Ah ha 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 ha! This is from 2019. This guy is from 2019 in Dallas, Oregon. Dallas, Oregon. Black Lives Matter had a rally at the courthouse in Dallas, Oregon, and a bunch of fucking white supremacists showed up with assault rifles. Ah. Do you remember that shit? Do you remember that shit? Dallas, Oregon, a bunch of fucking white supremacists showed, because we were saying Black Lives Matter, that you shouldn't kill black people. We were saying this. White supremacists who are on Team Trump showed up with fucking assault rifles to intimidate us. Like in Dallas, Texas, or Dallas, Oregon. Dallas, Oregon. Check out his big ass fucking knife. Look at that big ass knife that he carried. Why? Oh, wait a minute. You can't see. Look at that big ass knife that he was carrying. Why do you need a big ass fucking knife at a protest rally? Because you want to intimidate people. That's why. Look at these guys. Look at these guys. Who wears a fucking gun like that to a protest that says don't kill people? Who wears a fucking gun? Look at these guys. So look at that flag. Look at that flag. There is no question about who these people are. They're white supremacists. There's no question. There's no question. There's no question. They're there to intimidate. That's the only reason why they're there. So that was like a while ago, right? That was a while ago. I've been doing this for a long time. And I'm trying to find the part where I'm out over at the Salem Saturday Market. Here, I do it that way. Salem. Do I have a sign me holding it? I'll have to go find it. I don't know where it's at. Anyways, I didn't intend on doing that right now. All I'm trying to say is that I've been doing this for a long time. And when I first started, I got a bunch of shit from people who didn't believe me. People who should have known better. They should have known better than to trust Putin over the United States. They should have known better. And then, yeah, like we can use Pogokiro's imagination network to imagine what would have happened if Donald Trump had seized power in 2021. Imagine that Donald Trump's attempted coup succeeded, right? Let's imagine. Imagine that the mob got to Mike Pence and they killed Mike Pence. And then the mob gets a hold of Mike Pence. The certification of the election doesn't happen. Mike Pence is dead. Donald Trump declares a state of emergency. The transfer of power didn't happen. Who does the military believe now? Who's the leader? Is it Donald Trump? Or is it Nancy Pelosi because Donald Trump has gone AWOL? Because even now, right? It failed, right? Donald Trump didn't actually get to kill Mike Pence. It failed. But even now, there's a question in the minds of certain kinds of people if it really was an insurrection. They don't really know if it was an insurrection. And it's a huge number of people who believe that, who aren't sure. Now, I'm not just saying that, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. It's a huge number of people who are not sure. Where is that? Donald Trump is the front runner for the Republican nomination. A new CBS NBC poll for 2024, after Donald Trump was indicted for espionage After he was indicted for espionage, his poll numbers jumped 9%. He is now leading the GOP pack for the GOP nomination. Once it was confirmed that he betrayed, like he's indicted for betraying the United States, his poll numbers jumped. Think about that. Think about that. You're indicted for betraying the United States, and your supporters increase their support. What kind of supporters increase their support when they find out that you're an enemy of the United States? So we know that Donald Trump like fully intends on destroying the United States. Fully intends on it. Like imagine so let's imagine that he sees power in 2021, that we didn't have an election. We didn't get to, like, our election, Joe Biden never got to be president because, well, it would have been a civil war. That's what it would have been. It would have been a civil war. Had the Republicans actually killed Mike Pence, it would have been a civil war. Right? You fucking attacked our government, dudes. And you killed our people. I mean, it would have been civil war. It would have been civil war had they actually killed Mike Pence. So I can't really go too far on this imagination network, right? But let's just imagine that Donald Trump stayed president after 2020. That he won the election somehow. Like, I don't know. He didn't win the first time, and he didn't win the second time either. But let's just imagine he was still president. Do you think he would, like, we would have gotten to the point where there was a civil war in Russia? Do you think that would have happened? It would have been the exact opposite. There would have been a civil war in the United States. Do you think NATO would have helped Ukraine as much as they had if Donald Trump wasn't there? Or if Biden wasn't there? Instead, we had Donald Trump. Donald Trump wanted Zelensky, like, gone. He calls Zelensky a criminal all the time. Donald Trump is clearly on Team Russia. Clearly, clear as day. Clear as day, Donald Trump is on Team Russia. So Ukraine would have absolutely fallen. There would have been no way. There would not have been a mutiny in Russia. In fact, Putin would have consolidated his power and proven to his people that terrorism is better than democracy. He would have proven to his people that terrorism is better than democracy. And then we wouldn't have a NATO, right? Because NATO would have, like, crumbled under Trump. And if there's no NATO, there would have been nothing to stop Russia from continuing their westward expansion. After, because they already have that tiny little country called right off Moldavia. They have, like, a bunch of troops that they never withdrew. Like, so they're already halfway invading Europe already. They have Kaliningrad, right, which is this little tiny little piece of Soviet of Russia right on the Baltic Ocean. Why? Because they're like this is a forward base for a European invasion. That's what it's about. Russia is already primed for a European invasion. Their entire history is of imperialism. They show no signs of changing their history. No signs of changing their past. They don't want to make amends for their past. Their past is imperialism, and they fully intend on continuing that past. Well, that's something the whole world can get behind, stopping. Like, no one's going to like Russia, man. No one likes Russia. It's not our fault. It's Russia's fault. Russia keeps... Let me dim this one. Maybe it's this one that's too bright. Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. That helps a lot. It's not our fault, it's Russia's fault. for invading. So rightly, the whole world is against Russia because all they are is about invading other countries and taking their shit. That's the only thing Russia is about. And we're supposed to have evolved past that. We're supposed to have become enlightened and moved beyond using warfare to invade and take other people's shit. Didn't work out so good for the United States. Did it when the United States tried it? Did it, United States? I mean, it worked in the beginning, but after everyone got settled in, it doesn't work so good to go just randomly invade countries to take their shit. You can't do it. You tried in Afghanistan, you tried in Iraq, you tried in Vietnam. It doesn't work. You can't do it. The United States, you tried in Afghanistan. Yeah, you can't do it. The way weapons work nowadays is that the defender has a great advantage. And and today's society is so complex that you can't just invade and country build inside of the country you just invaded. It doesn't work like that anymore. You can't do it. We have to learn how to cooperate and have a dialogue about things that we don't agree with. The problem is that Russia, Putin, never wanted to do a dialogue. He never wanted to do it. He broke every single treaty he's ever signed. You can't trust the word of Vladimir Putin. You can't trust the words of the Russian government because they're all about imperialism. Imperialism is what that's about is expansion. You expand your empire, and anyone you take over, you redirect their resources back to the core country. So we're supposed to move past that because when you're a nation with imperialism, no one can relate to you except as an aggressor. And after the fall of the Soviet Union, Russia was supposed to have reformed into a democratic state, but it didn't reform at all. It just got taken over by criminals. That's all. It just got taken over by criminals. Man, so given that context, anybody who sides with Russia and sides with Putin, you have to wonder about their allegiance not only to their own country but to the idea of truth. Because above all, truth is the enemy of a fascist. So that's why Putin is always trying to put out propaganda and lies to destroy truth, to try to hide truth. You can't destroy truth, but you can hide it. Because truth will destroy you. well, no, not that truth to destroy you, but rather, if it can destroy you if you have no integrity, and Putin has no integrity, so that's why he has to hide truth constantly. Okay, let's see. Let's continue on. I've like framed it big, right? What a big frame. What a big frame. But this goes back, right? But this goes back. This goes back to 2016. What happened in 2016? I'm going to say it again. Donald Trump and the Republican Party allied with the Russian government in order to overthrow the United States government. In exchange for money and resources and assistance, the Republicans would assist the Russians in their geopolitical goals, removing sanctions off of Russia, destroying NATO, and giving up Ukraine, giving Ukraine to Russia. That was the plan. That was the goal. What happened was that it was supposed to be secret. No one was supposed to know about this. Nobody was supposed to know about this deal. But then this guy Papadopoulos blabbed to the Australian diplomat, and the Australian diplomat told the FBI, and the FBI started an investigation. That ballooned into Comey investigating Russia, right? And then then Trump told Jim Comey, who was the head of the FBI, he's like, Comey, fucking stop investigating Russia. Comey said no. So Trump said, okay, you're fired. The day after Donald Trump fired James Comey, he invited the Russian diplomats into the Oval Office. He kicked out all the Americans, and then he told the Russians that, hey, don't worry, guys, I fired Comey. The Russian investigation is over. It's over. And he celebrated with the Russians. Right after that, the director of Department of Justice, Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, was forced to appoint a special counsel. He had no choice. The president just fired the guy investigating, a foreign country. Like, you can't do that. There's supposed to be a barrier between the president and the FBI. The president is supposed to talk to the attorney general, and the attorney general is supposed to talk to the head of the FBI, because the attorney general, there's a chain of command, right? Like, since Trump went directly to Comey, he broke the attorney general is there to keep a divide between the president and the Department of Justice. If the president has direct control of the Department of Justice, you can say, hey, that president is using the Department of Justice for political ends. And you would be correct. So they invented the attorney general to stand in between the president and the rest of the Department of Justice, so that the president could not directly control the way justice is administered. Justice would have a degree of independence, so it could do what it needed to do. That was the point of having an attorney general. Well, Donald Trump fired the attorney general, and then installed his own attorney general. And then fired the FBI director because he wouldn't stop investigating. So in order to say that he has any kind of power, the attorney general was forced to get a special counsel whose name was Robert Mueller. Robert Mueller did a 2-year investigation and got multiple convictions. He convicted Roger Stone, Paul Manafort. Those are the two famous ones. Oh God, I have a list here. He got a bunch of convictions, and they all said, "Yup, Donald Trump's team had a whole bunch of connections with the Russian government, and when they asked about it, they lied about it to cover it up." That's really happened. That really happened. So Donald Trump is kind of fucked at this point. He's like, damn, dude, everyone knows that I worked with, and then another Senate report came out and said the same thing. So there's 2 reports that said the same thing. Donald Trump is like, damn, dude, all this evidence says I'm a traitor. I need to cover it up. How am I going to do that? I know. I'm gonna first of all pick my attorney general named Bill Barr, and he's my puppet, and I'm gonna use him he's gonna do whatever I tell him to do. So that way so it looks like he's in the Justice Department is independent, but actually Donald Trump has total control of the Justice Department because Billy Barr does whatever he wants. So he installs Billy Barr to be attorney general, and then tells Billy Barr, I want you to cover up the Mueller report. So Billy Barr hires Durham to investigate the investigators. Durham is not looking into the Russians who tried to overthrow the government. He's not looking into the Americans who worked with the Russians to overthrow the government. No. He's looking into the people who looked into the Russians who tried to overthrow the government. Why? Why would you investigate the investigators who discovered the Russians were attacking us? Why would you do that? Why would you help? That's essentially helping the Russians to do it, because they're like, oh, you saw us? How did you do it? That's essentially what they're doing. How did you catch us? Let me get more coffee. So Donald Trump got Bill Durham, I think his name was Bill Durham, to do an investigation into the investigators to cover up the Mueller report. He got 0 convictions. He only indicted 3 people and he got 0 convictions. So he got nothing. He got bupkis. He got nothing. He got nothing after 4 years. So let's work through this, right? Under oath, John, oh, that's his name, John, not William. John Durham admitted, he said, "Do you agree that Russia interfered in the 2016 election?" And Special Counsel John Durham says, "I agree that there is substantial evidence to show that." Right? Even he agrees, even John Durham agrees that yes, there was substantial reason to do the investigation because they actually did, right? They actually interfered in the 2016 election. That's a given. Russia interfered with the 2016 election. The Americans say it, the Europeans say it, the Aussies say it. The only people who disagree that the Russians interfered in the 2016 election are Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin does not, he said, I totally disagree that the Russians interfered in the 2016 election. So Vladimir Putin says, no, that didn't happen. Number 2, the other person who says it did not happen is Donald Trump. Donald Trump says, no, Russia didn't help me at all to become president. I did nothing with Russia. I had no help with Russia. Nobody was tougher on Russia than Donald Trump is what he'll say, right? So the only 2 people that disagree with the Americans, the Europeans, John Durham, and the Aussies, they all say that Russia interfered. The only people who disagree are Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. That's the only people. You might find some Americans who agree with Vladimir Putin as well, but they won't. But they're kind of brainwashed. They're either Nazis, then they're Nazis, or they're demoralized. Demoralized Americans no longer can see truth. They've lost the ability, the capacity to see truth. So a demoralized American will substitute their feelings in place of truth, so that what is true is whatever feels good to the person. So if you give the person a piece of information and that piece of information makes them feel bad, they will reject the piece of information and say, no, that's fake news. Even if everything is contradictory, that creates cognitive dissonance, a pain. It creates like psychic pain inside of them, and they have various ways of dealing with it, but I don't really know what it is. So for example, you can tell them, you can go to a Trump supporter and be like, hey, Trump supporter, did you know the Trump campaign actively worked with the Russian government to overthrow the 2016 election? And they'll say, I don't believe it. I'll be like, oh, you don't believe that Russia interfered in the 2016 election and the Trump campaign helped them? That's what the Americans and that's what the Americans say. And the person I'm saying, no, it's all fake news. It's not true. I'm like, oh, so you agree with Vladimir Putin? Because that's what Vladimir Putin says. And they'll say, I don't agree with Vladimir Putin. I just don't think the Russians helped Donald Trump win. And I'll be like, yeah, that's what Vladimir Putin says. They'll be like, no. I am not on the same side as Vladimir Putin. They'll say that. But though at the same time as they say the very same words as Vladimir Putin. You can't, it won't register. It doesn't register. It just cannot register in their brains. It cannot. Because they could never be on the same side as Vladimir Putin. Right? Unless they're Nazis. But they're then of course, right? But as demoralized Americans, they whatever is true is what feels good to them. So if you tell them, oh, you're repeating the same words as Vladimir Putin, that doesn't feel good to them, so they reject it. If you say you're agreeing with Donald Trump, it makes them feel good. They'll be like, yeah. And I'll say Donald Trump agrees with Vladimir Putin, and they'll be like, no, because it doesn't feel good to them. Even though it's true. That's a demoralized American. Demoralization. Remember, demoralization is a real thing. It's a real thing. It's an active program that the Russians have been using on Americans since like the 80s at least. Don't make me fucking pull out that clip from Yuri Bezmenov again of him telling you what it is, because he'll tell you over and over again. The whole point is to confuse Americans so much that they give up on the idea of truth. That's the whole point of that. That's essentially it, is to confuse Americans so much that they give up on the idea of truth. Because once they give up on the idea of truth, it's super easy to manipulate people. So, John Durham admits he knows little about Russia's scandal. No wonder he thought the FBI was doing a witch hunt against Trump. Because Donald Trump told him, "I want you to find evidence of a witch hunt against me." That was his whole thing. So John Durham had an impossible mission, because there was no witch hunt against Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a criminal and a traitor. It's true. It's true. It's true, unless you believe Vladimir Putin. But otherwise, if you agree with the Americans, yeah, Donald Trump's a traitor and a criminal. So John Durham was sent on an impossible mission, and he had to follow a bunch of like Russian conspiracy theories in order to try to validate Donald Trump's desire to erase the Mueller report. And in order to do that, plausibly, he had to not know about the Robert Mueller investigation. He had to be totally ignorant of what just happened. He had to be absolutely ignorant of it. So more specifically, Durham seemed to be unaware of the major factual elements of the alliance between the Trump campaign and Russia. This ignorance came through in several awkward exchanges with Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee panel. Eric Swalwell asked Durham about how Trump tried and concealed from the public a real estate deal he was seeking in Moscow. This was the deal described in the Mueller report, in which the Russian government promised Trump several hundreds of millions of dollars in profit at no risk to himself to license a tower in Moscow. The proposal to pay off and Trump's public lies at the time about it gave Russia enormous leverage over his campaign. Durham replied, "Oh, I don't know anything about that." Really? That's weird. Like, everyone knows about how the Russians had a meeting up in Trump Tower where Don Jr. was there with Eric Jr., Trump Jr., and they had Donald Trump on the speakerphone, but Donald Trump was in the room down the hall. So Donald Trump was essentially there meeting with the Russians. They were there because they were promised, not only were they promised like this real estate deal, but they were promised dirt on Hillary Clinton. So they tried to cover it up, and they lied a bunch of ways. They tried to cover up they said they were promised dirt, but that's even worse. This whole thing, all it did was prove to the Russians that this campaign was willing to betray the country to work with them. Even if they had nothing to offer, they were willing to do it. So when Adam Schiff asked Durham if the Russians released stolen information through cutouts, he replied, "I'm not sure." Schiff responded, "The answer is yes." To which Durham reported, "In your mind, it's yes." "No, dude, no, it's proven. It's proven. Is Durham disagreeing? So Durham is siding with the Russians? Is that what's happening? You remember that whole thing, right? Here, let me see if I can find it real quick. I don't know how far back it was. I did it. When Donald Trump pretty much said, when Donald Trump looked at the camera and said, "Russia, if you're listening," I mean, of course, and then right after that, the Russians released the hack of the DNC to cover up another grab him by the pussy thing that Donald Trump said. Man, I can't believe that people don't remember this stuff. I mean, maybe they do. They just I don't know. I'm looking for Red Stone Lapis Lazuli. Russia, if you're listening. I'll go back to this one. Back to Durham. Anyways, I got lost here. When Schiff asked Durham if he knew that hours after Trump publicly asked Russia to find Hillary Clinton's State Department emails and release them, Russian hackers made an attempt to hack Clinton's emails. Durham replied, "If that happened, I'm not aware of it." So he doesn't even know anything. Remember that I showed you that that thing? Durham doesn't know anything, dude. He doesn't know anything. Oh, what's happening, dude? Come on, let's go. All right, well, I double-clicked it, and it's not going. What's happening here, dude? Come on, stop. Just show my thing. You gave me a lot. I named a lot that. Okay. It didn't work. Let me try again.
The C-SPAN networks bring you long-form public affairs programming from the nation's capital and are a public service of your television provider. C-SPAN, created by cable.
What is this?
What do I have to get involved with Putin for? I have nothing to do with Putin. I've never spoken to him. I don't know anything about him other than he will respect me. He doesn't respect our president. And if it is Russia, which is probably not, nobody...
See? So he's agreeing, so Donald Trump is agreeing with Vladimir Putin, right? Right now he's agreeing with Vladimir Putin. The Americans, everyone says, even John Durham said, oh yeah, it was the Russians. Donald Trump says it wasn't the Russians. And who else says it wasn't the Russians? Vladimir Putin. So clearly, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin are buddies, dude. Clearly. Anyone, clearly at this point, everyone knows.
He knows who it is. But if it is Russia, it's really bad for a different reason. Because it shows how little respect they have for our country when they would hack into a major party and get everything. But it would be interesting to see.
Get ready. He's going to ask Russia.
I will tell you this. Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing.
What?
I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
Mightily by our press. There's the ask, right? Donald Trump, right after he did that, the Russian hackers attacked Hillary Clinton's servers. Right after he did that, yeah. When Schiff asked if Durham if he knew that hours after Trump publicly asked Russia to find Hillary Clinton's State Department emails and release them, Russian hackers made an attempt to hack Clinton's emails. Durham replied, "If that happened, I'm not aware of it." See, Durham is either acting really stupid, or he knows he has to act stupid in order to justify his investigation. He has to act as if he doesn't know shit, because the way he did his investigation was like totally dumb. All right. When asked if Trump referred to those stolen emails more than 100 times on the campaign trail, Durham answered, "I don't really read the newspapers and listen to the news." So he's covering his ass. And when Schiff asked Durham if he was aware that Trump's campaign manager, Paul Manafort, passed on polling data to Konstantin Kilimnik, a Russian intelligence agent, at the time Russia was conducting both a social media campaign and the release of stolen documents to help Trump, Durham replied, you may be getting beyond the depth of my knowledge." So he's acting like an idiot. He's acting like an idiot. How can he did an investigation to discredit the report that he knows nothing about? How is this even possible? It's because Donald Trump weaponized the Department of Justice. That's how, through Billy Barr. Like, I hate the way that Billy Barr is like all on the fucking TV now like he's a good guy. Billy Barr is a fucking bad guy. Billy Barr was like the corruption at the heart of the Iran-Contra affair. Billy Barr is super, super bad. Don't be looking to Nixon. Don't look at Nixon as the way it's going to go. No, dude, look at Iran-Contra. Look at Iran-Contra. They fucking covered that shit up, and Billy Barr was the cleaner who did it. And he did it the same way that he did the Mueller report. He fucking covered up the Mueller report, wrote some fucking lame ass like summary, and then put out the summary. That was the exact opposite of what the report said, and that fucked up everybody's head because that's information warfare. So yeah, guys. So Durham. The Mueller report points out that Trump Jr. zeroed in on this. Trump Jr. asked follow-up questions about how the alleged payments. This is in reference to the Trump Tower meeting, right? So the Mueller report points out that Trump Jr. when Trump Jr. and the Russians met in Trump Tower to discuss how they're going to work together, how Trump and the Russians are going to work together. The Mueller report points out that Trump Jr. zeroed in on this. Trump Jr. asked follow-up questions about how the alleged payments could be tied specifically to the Clinton campaign, but Veselnitskaya indicated that she could not trace the money once it entered the United States. The report quotes a participant in the meeting recalling that Trump Jr. asked what they, the Russians, have on Clinton. Durham's characterization of the meeting that had nothing to do with Clinton lined up with what the Trump camp first claimed when the meeting was revealed a year afterwards in 2017. At that time, Trump Jr. issued a false statement dictated by his father that insisted the conversation had focused primarily on the adoption of Russian children by Americans. That was a phony cover story. Later on, when more information came out, even the elder Trump conceded that the point of the meeting was to gather negative information on Clinton from a foreign adversary. This was a meeting to get information on an opponent, Trump said. Years later, Durham was still pushing the original disinformation about the meeting propagated by Trump and his allies. So remember, Durham is nothing more than a fucking propaganda piece for Donald Trump. All his investigations, all his statements, all his indictments are all the same thing. A continuation of Russian propaganda and misinformation to cover up Donald Trump's connection to Russia. I can't believe I'm still talking about this. All right. It's okay, man. It's all right. In a subsequent exchange with Rep. Tom McClintock, Durham misled the committee about another key element of the Trump-Russia scandal. McClintock observed that the central charge in the Russia collusion hoax was that the Trump campaign operatives were in contact with Russian intelligence sources. Replying to that remark, Durham said there was no such evidence. That is not true. That is not true. While running Trump's campaign in the summer of 2016, Manafort had regular contact with Konstantin Kilimnik, a former Manafort employee in Ukraine who had been repeatedly identified by U.S. government officials as a Russian agent. So yes, Russian, and remember, Paul Manafort was the campaign manager of the Trump campaign. Yeah, what? I wonder, Paul Manafort picked Mike Pence and kicked out Chris Christie. I wonder why. Did he think it'd be easier to kill Mike Pence than Chris Christie? Because that's essentially what it came down to at the very, very end. At the very, very end, it came down to the vice president, and Mike Pence didn't go along with it. Had Mike Pence went along with it, Donald Trump would have completed his coup. But Mike Pence didn't go along. I wonder if, Do you think Chris Christie would have went along? And since he didn't go along, since Mike Pence didn't go along, Donald Trump tried to have Mike Pence killed. So I wondered, let's play what if, Pogokiros, what if? What if Mike Pence, or what if Chris Christie was the vice president when Donald Trump tried to overthrow the government? Do you think Chris Christie would have went along with the coup? If he didn't, and the mob invaded D.C. on January 6th and killed Chris Christie, what would have happened? Would there be a civil war? Oh, fuck yeah. That's funny. I wonder if that's what played into Paul Manafort's thinking when he picked Mike Pence. Like, Mike Pence is sort of like a wet fish. I wouldn't say he's a wet fish, but the joke is that Mike Pence is just kind of like but the one thing he had for him is that he didn't fucking betray the country at a key moment. That's the one thing that he has going for him. The one thing. So, in other words, Durham lied under oath. There was evidence. There was so much evidence that there was contact between Paul Manafort and Konstantin Kilimnik, a Russian agent, that Paul Manafort was convicted. He's a felon. He lied to the FBI, and because he lied to the FBI, Konstantin Kilimnik got away, and they couldn't question him. So that's why they charged him with lying to the FBI. And then Donald Trump pardoned him. Roger Stone, that's another guy. Fuck that guy. So Durham is repeating Russian propaganda to Congress. I mean, sure. So is McClintock, right? So is McClintock, but he's not under oath. He can lie his ass off up on the podium, and he does. I mean, the Republicans do it all the time. It doesn't matter if they get called out in the press, because the press that they're doing it for is Fox News, and the viewers of Fox News are never going to see the other networks that call them out for it. They're only going to see clips that Fox News show them, and Fox News doesn't show them what the Democrats say. Fox News only shows the Republican ranting out of context, and then all they need is the clip of the Republican ranting out of context. And then afterwards, they just strip off all the other context and then build their own frame around it and then drop in clips. It's kind of sick, but yeah. Anyways, John Durham's just committed perjury. In a detailed bipartisan 2020 report, the Senate Intelligence Committee, this is what I'm talking about, the second thing. It's not just the Mueller report. Another report came out that bolstered the Mueller report. So, not only is Donald Trump a traitor, he's a traitor by his own party. His own party said so. In a detailed bipartisan 2020 report, the Senate Intelligence Committee, then chaired by Republican Senator Mark Rubio, called Kilimnik a Russian intelligence officer. A year earlier, the Mueller report said the FBI assessed that Kilimnik has ties to Russian intelligence. The U.S. Treasury in 2021 declared Kilimnik was a known Russian intelligence services agent implementing influence operations on their behalf. The department added, during the 2016 U.S. presidential election campaign, Kilimnik provided the Russian intelligence services with sensitive information on polling and campaign strategy. In 2018, Mueller indicted Kilimnik on charges of obstruction of justice. He could only indict. He couldn't bring him to trial because Kilimnik fled the country and never came back. So this is all established, right? This is all real. But Durham fucking lied about it because Durham is like, you can't trust him. He's on Team Trump, and that points to a deeper corruption within the FBI. How many FBI agents are just like Durham, more loyal to Trump than they are to the United States? How many FBI agents are like that? Because look at what Durham had to ignore in order to do his investigation into the investigators. He didn't go after these people here. He went after the people who found these people. He's like, how did you know they were doing that? I want to know so I could tell them so they can do better next time. The next time they try to overthrow our government. God, like the betrayal is deep. I'm trying to convey the depth to which we've been betrayed, because like it's so hard to explain it. And Americans have been demoralized. It's really hard to get to them because they're demoralized. They're lost, right? They're just wandering. They're just wandering. They will go wherever they feel because that's what they have no compass anymore. Their only compass are their emotions. And you know what emotions are? They're easily manipulated. They're easily manipulated. You can't go on emotions alone. You can't do it. Otherwise, you'll be easily manipulated. So, and again, that's the whole point of the Russian campaign, to demoralize Americans, to destroy their notion of truth. If the truth is this bright star, immutable star, that's so bright that you can't actually look at it directly. Like, it'll burn out your eyes if you look at it directly. You can't do it. Or if you can, only for brief moments. You can't directly look at it forever. But what you want to do is you want the closest approximation to the truth as you can get. And so it's never going to be the thing, but as close as you can get. And you're always going to make it better and better to get closer and closer and closer, as close as you can get. That's where you're always reaching to get as close as you possibly can. So that is the thing that will guide you, like, throughout life. That's the star that guides you. That's gonna keep your bearings through the truth that illuminates everything else. You can judge everything else by the light of the truth, or the closest approximation that you can get. You judge everything by the light of the truth. So Americans who are demoralized have lost that. They have lost that. They have been so confused that they no longer believe that the truth can be seen or known, that it is forever obscured to mortals, that they can never, ever, ever know, that everyone just says whatever they want, that you can't really know, that you'll never really be sure, you can't trust it. So when you get to that, when you give up on the idea that there's a real knowable truth where anything could be anything, then at that point you're just kind of floating in an ocean with no direction. How are you going to guide yourself? How do you know where you're going? Like the ancient sailors, they always had the stars. I mean, they didn't in the beginning, right? They didn't know what the stars were. I mean, they did, but they didn't have the tools or the knowledge or the maps in order to use the stars to navigate. They didn't know at that time. So yeah, if they were out too far from, so that means they couldn't sail their ships away from land. Otherwise, where are you? Right? Where are you? Then relativity. Then if you can't relate to anything, how do you know where you're going? I mean, you can look at the sun, that'll tell you where, east and west. But what about at night? Like, yeah, like I don't know. So the Russian campaign of disinformation is intended to demoralize Americans to an extent that they give up on the idea of truth. Once they give up on the idea of truth, it's easy to manipulate them and implant into their brains conspiracy theories that feel true. And since they feel true, demoralized people will glob onto them as if they are true. because they have no other compass. You can't actually. They believe that no one can actually know truth, so they go with what they feel, and they know what they feel for sure. And for them, that's one thing they can know for sure is how they feel. So they glob onto it, but what they feel is being fucking thrown all over the place. So you have to hold on to the idea of truth. And John Durham is like giving up on that. He gave up on that idea of truth. He just told Congress that this didn't happen, and yet we have an entire fucking record that it happened. And he's convicted of it. So the contacts between Manafort and Kilimnik have been well chronicled by Mueller, the Senate Intelligence Committee, and media reports. Durham should be well versed in this. Manafort and Kilimnik met secretly in Manhattan cigar bar. Manafort handed Kilimnik Trump campaign polling data that were to be passed on to an oligarch close to Russian leader Vladimir Putin. And he arranged to continue sharing sensitive campaign information through Kilimnik. Kilimnik also wanted something from Manafort. He asked Manafort to secure Trump's backing for a Kremlin-approved peace plan for Ukraine that would have entailed creating an autonomous zone in eastern Ukraine, a scheme Manafort knew would offer a backdoor means for Russia to control eastern Ukraine. According to the Senate report, this sounds like an early attempt to gain Trump's assistance in securing what Russia later invaded Ukraine to obtain. So, in other words, Putin was gonna get Crimea and eastern Ukraine for free from Trump in exchange for helping. So all Russia had to do was help Trump win the election. And in return, Trump would give to Russia eastern Ukraine. Trump would not help NATO, would not tell NATO to go help Ukraine. Trump would not give Zelensky any weapons to defend themselves. There would be no Starlink helping the Ukrainians. There would be nothing. There would be nothing. Ukrainians would have been like run over again. Like, you got to understand how fucking close of a call that was. Remember I tell you about how quantum folding, it can only go one way and it's a massive thing? The election of Joe Biden was fucking massive. Okay. The Senate committee also revealed that it found information which it did not publicly detail, suggesting Kilimnik may have been connected to the Russian hack and leak operation targeting the 2016 U.S. election. And it referenced two pieces of information that raised the possibility that Manafort too was connected to Russia's hack and leak operations. How did this Russia hack and leak operation work? How did it work? Russia could not just fucking dump the information it stole from the Clinton campaign. It couldn't just and the Democratic campaign. It couldn't just dump it, right? Say, hey guys, look what we got. Ha ha ha, Russia did it. Yeah. Because everyone would be like, oh fuck, look at what Russia's doing, right? You couldn't do that. So they needed help. They needed to launder that information. Just like the way you launder money, right? Why do you launder money? To obscure the sources. Why? Because the sources are blood money. It's always blood money. That's the only reason why you launder money, is because it's, well, not the only reason, but that's a big reason why you launder money, is blood money. You got the money because you have a criminal organization that shakes down honest small business owners and takes their money for yourself, for the mob boss, and then you need some way to take this dirty fucking blood money. Oh yeah, and if the shopkeepers don't play along, you hurt them until they're either dead or they play along. So blood money, dude, it's blood money. It's blood money. Organized crime is a parasite. It's a tick. It's a fucking tick on a city. They're ticks. They're fucking ticks. They bite into small businesses already just trying to live, right? They're just trying to live, and they're just men, ordinary men. They're just businesses. They're just small businesses. And these fucking organized crime fucking Russian people come in and say, hey, small business, in addition to taxes and regulations from the city, in order so the city and the government don't come down and kill you, now we have this organized crime guy that says, hey, if you don't give us a portion of your goods, we're going to come bust up your shop, unbust you up until you're either dead or you give in. And then so this is dirty ass money, right? This is dirty, dirty fucking blood money. This is dirty money. The only way you get this money back into the system is if you launder it. So you have lots of ways of laundering this dirty ass money. One way of laundering dirty ass money is through real estate, like Trump Towers. You set up shell companies. One company buys a Trump Tower for an obscene amount of money, and another company sells and another company sells it. But they're the same person. So whatever money you lose through the washing is the fee that the washer collects. That's Donald Trump. But after it goes through the wash, it's clean money. You know, where did you get the money? Through a real estate deal. Ta-da, clean money. Well, so that's one way, right? Well, you have to launder information the same way. Remember, Donald Trump said, hey, Russia, if you're listening, I want you to get Hillary Clinton's emails. Well, they couldn't get Hillary Clinton's emails, but they got Democratic National Committee's emails, John Podesta's, and they fucking released that shit, and I don't remember exactly the details. I might be a little off on stuff, but basically, Russia hacked into followed along. They followed along. They went along with it. And they got stuff, right? They got information, and the Russians couldn't just dump the information on the open internet and say, hey guys, look what the Russians found. They had to launder it, just like you have to launder money. How do you launder dirty information? How do you do it? Through a company, or not through a company, but through an organization. Same thing the way you do it with Trump. You find an organization to launder the dirty information. What kind of organization would launder like stolen information? Who would do that? WikiLeaks, guys, WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks. That guy Assange knew that the Russians were using WikiLeaks to launder information it stole from the U.S. government, and he went along with it because it gave him a measure of power. And he too wanted to control who won the presidential election. And Assange too had a preference for Donald Trump. So Assange is not just some happy-go-lucky guy who just happened to be caught up in a scandal. He was working. He fully knew that the Russians were using his site to launder information, and he did nothing. He obscured it. In fact, he hid it. So yeah, dude, Guccifer 2.0. That's how they did it. It wasn't the Russian government, it was Guccifer 2.0 who released it on WikiLeaks. And WikiLeaks just released it to everybody. They don't even say who gave it because they're protecting their sources. You see what I mean? Laundering the information. Man, no, you know, I kind of understand now why a regular American would be like, the fuck is going on? How's a regular American gonna keep up with this shit over like a 5-year like time frame? Like, this is when it's coming out drip 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 drip, like over years. How's a regular American gonna keep up on this? They're never gonna keep up on this. No fucking way. Not while you're raising kids and paying taxes and like taking care of your elderly mom and fucking like your degenerate like kid who won't like do the right thing, or your degenerate brother who won't do the right thing, or whatever. I don't know. You're so busy with your life trying to take care of other people, you're not gonna fucking notice that like shit like this, right? This is like complicated shit, and I'm sorry that it's been so hard. I'm sorry that it's been like this. Like, but it's really that deep and crazy to the point where it's almost like a movie. Remember how this all started? Remember me doing this? Remember? I got so much shit for this. And already, in public, they were already saying how great Putin was. Already, the Russian flower shop people were saying, oh yeah, Putin's great. Trump is great. Already. Already. Remember that guy? Yeah, dude. I'm not lying. But it's been so long and it's so complicated, and they try so hard to confuse you, to make you give up on the idea of truth. Because if you give up on the idea of truth, you also give up on the idea of democracy. Because democracy is based upon rule of law. Rule of law is based upon the idea that the law is the closest approximation to the truth that we can get. It's not perfect. It's not like the best. It's not immutable. But it's the closest we can get to the truth. So you have to believe in the truth in order to get the law as close to the truth as possible. And since everyone has their own perception of truth, the only way we really get a good approximation of truth is through democracy, when we all have an input into it. Under autocracy, under authoritarianism, under a king, monarchy, it doesn't matter what people see, only the elite matter under those situations. That's what makes democracy great. Because everybody gets to say, well, this is my truth and how I see it. Everybody gets to say that. And we all get to input and share one another, and so that we help refine our visions and get our visions as close to truth as we can get. That's the whole point. It's the whole point. The Manafort-Kilimnik connection, with which the Senate Intelligence Committee report characterized as a grave counterintelligence threat, is one of the most serious and still not fully explained components of the Trump-Russia scandal. It belies all the claims of Trump and his crowd that the Russia investigation was nothing but a hoax orchestrated by a nefarious den of anti-Trump vipers within the law enforcement and national security communities. It is inconceivable that Durham is unaware of this troubling link. But by ignoring the well-documented contacts between Manafort and an identified Russian agent and asserting that there was no evidence of interactions between the Trump campaign and Russian intelligence, Durham was supporting Trump's never-ending cover-up. Durham's investigation report raised several questions about his aims. Was he running a fair and balanced probe, or weaponizing a government inquiry to buttress Trump's self-serving lies about the Trump scandal? Durham's false statements to Congress about essential facts provide more reason for suspicion, as they further undermine his credibility. They might even merit their own investigation. Durham fucking lied his ass off, or he was so ignorant of what was going on that he was essentially an agent of Russia. So I'm talking a fucking shitload. Let me pass this off, right?
Mr. Durham, DOJ policy provides that you don't speak about a pending investigation, and yet you did, didn't you?
I'm not exactly sure what
when the Inspector General issued a report saying that the investigation was properly predicated, you spoke out in violation of Department of Justice policy to criticize the Inspector General's conclusions, didn't you?
I issued a public statement. I didn't do it anonymously. I didn't do it through third persons. But
nonetheless, you violated department policy by issuing a statement while your investigation was ongoing, didn't you?
I don't know that. If I did, then I did, but I was not aware that I was violating some policy.
Ignorance of the law is no defense. Well, I guess it's a policy, it's not a law. But remember, Comey got fired for the same thing. Comey got fired for doing the same thing, for commenting on an ongoing investigation. Actually, no, he didn't get fired. He didn't get fired. That's right. I don't know. I'm confused.
And you also sought to get the Inspector General to change his conclusion, did you not? When he was concluding that the investigation was properly predicated, did you privately seek to intervene to change that conclusion?
This is outside the scope of the report, but if you want to go there, we asked the Inspector General to take a look at the intelligence that's included in the classified appendix that you looked at, and said that that ought to affect.
So yes, in other words, yes. Yes, that's a long way of saying, yeah, we talked to the Inspector General, like, hey, dude, maybe you should change your report. Because, let me provide context. Before the Durham report happened, before that, there was another report by the Inspector General. Who is the Inspector General? The Inspector General is a guy whose job it is to check out the agency to make sure people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Like, and he already wrote a report. He already wrote a report about how the FBI handled the special counsel's investigation. It was already done, right? So by saying, and the thing is that, what did the report say? The report pretty much said, yeah, pretty much good job. There's some things you need to fucking fix and work on, but otherwise pretty good. Why is that bad? Why is that bad? Because Donald Trump's whole thing is to say that the Robert Mueller, the Russia thing, was a witch hunt against Donald Trump. He needs them to say that the investigation into Donald Trump's involvement with Russia was a totally fucked up thing by the FBI that was all wrong. He needs the Inspector General to say that, and the Inspector General didn't say that. He said, nope, pretty good, it was a right investigation. So now, Durham, his whole point, remember, he is investigating the investigators. He was tasked by Trump to prove that it was a witch hunt. Well, his job just got way, way harder to prove that it was a witch hunt when the Inspector General said, nope, they all did everything right. Oh, damn, dude. Before they could release that report to say, yep, everything's all right, John Durham said to him, hey dude, can you fucking not say that? Can you say that the FBI fucked up at all, please? And the Inspector General was like, no. All right, here we go.
Portions of his report.
And you thought it was appropriate for you to intervene with an independent investigation by the Inspector General because he was reaching a conclusion you disagreed with. You thought that was appropriate.
That's not, the premise isn't right. The Inspector General circulated a draft memo to a number of agencies and persons. Our group was one of them. We were asked to review that draft and bring to his attention any concerns that we had or disagreements.
And when he refused to change his report, you violated
Mr. Chairman, I insist on...
Yeah, so when he refused to change the report, when the Inspector General refused to change the report, he intervened. He was like, yo, you have to change the report.
You want to talk about collusion? Let me ask my Republican colleagues. If a campaign manager for a campaign is giving internal information to a Russian intelligence agent, is that collusion? Because that was the once classified information that is now public and now constitutes collusion. And there are so many other issues. There is.
Your report took 4 years and over $6.5 million in taxpayer dollars to produce. Mr. Durham, how many cases did you bring to trial during your time investigating the 2016 election?
I'm sorry, you just missed part of that because
how many cases did you bring to trial?
2.
2. And in how many of those 2 cases did the juries vote to convict?
Neither one.
Neither one. Neither jury voted to convict the gentleman that you prosecuted, and in fact, in one case, the trial judge threw out one of your charges because the claim that you were charging as false was, as he put it, literally true. Mr. Durham, I think you were given an impossible task by Attorney General Bill Barr. He asked you to figure out how to make Donald Trump's Spygate claims true. But you couldn't do that because you quickly realized that the claims were false. And so you set about, as many Republicans on cable news do, trying to find a way to blame Hillary Clinton for Donald Trump's woes. Mr. Durham, do you know how many people Special Counsel Mueller indicted or obtained guilty pleas from?
They indicted or charged a number of people. I think
it was 34. It was 34 people and 3 companies. Do you know how many of those indictments were of individuals who were acquitted in court?
I don't know that anybody was acquitted.
That's right. The answer is none. So I think the difference between your investigation and Mr. Mueller's was that Mr. Mueller actually found actual evidence of a crime. We know that Russia did attempt to interfere in the 2016 election. We know that Russia did hack into the DNC email server, and Mr. Mueller's prosecutions reflected that reality, such as the case of 12 Russian military intelligence officers who he charged with crimes related to the hacking and the leaking of leading Democrats' emails in 2016.
Yup. True, 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 true. All true. John Durham was ignorant. He was just, or pretending to be ignorant.
Now, Mr. Durham, I'd like to ask you the following simple yes or no questions. Trump's former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, was convicted, correct?
That's correct.
Trump's former foreign policy advisor to the campaign, George Papadopoulos, was convicted, correct?
That's correct.
Trump's former deputy campaign manager, Rick Gates, was convicted, correct?
Not in connection with the Russian matter.
All right. Mr. Durham, you can hold yourself out as an objective Department of Justice official or as a partisan hack, and the more that you try to spin the facts and not answer my questions, you sound like the latter. Trump's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn, was convicted, correct?
That's correct.
Trump's longtime advisor, Roger Stone, was convicted, correct?
Correct.
In contrast to the multiple Trump associates who were convicted, you brought 2 cases to jury trial based on this investigation, and you lost both. And so I don't actually know what we're doing here, because the author of the Durham report concedes that the FBI had enough information to investigate, and thank goodness the FBI did, because multiple Trump associates who committed crimes were held accountable. And the best way to summarize what happened is thank you to the brave men and women of the FBI for doing their jobs. I yield back.
Yup. Yup. I mean, like, do you have questions? I can answer your questions. Like, I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you read what's in the cable and what's in the report as to what the diplomats reported was, there was a suggestion of a suggestion that the Russians could help. They had damaging information as to Mrs. Clinton. And
by releasing it anonymously, right? And that's exactly what happened, isn't it?
I don't.
You really don't know?
I'm not sure exactly. When you say exactly what happened.
Well, the Russians released stolen emails through cutouts, did they not?
There were emails.
It's a very simple question. Did they release information, stolen information through cutouts, yes or no?
Yeah, I'm not sure that.
He can't answer.
Know the answer to that? The answer is yes, they did.
He can't answer it. Durham can't answer it. He cannot admit that that happened, because if he did, then the basis of because his whole investigation was that his whole point of his investigation was to prove that the FBI had no reason to even look at Donald Trump. That was the whole point. The whole point of the Durham investigation was to show that the FBI had no reason to even look at Donald Trump. That all this stuff that came after Donald Trump got, indicted by the FBI, or not indicted, but all the stuff that came after the special counsel's report, all these convictions are don't count. These convictions don't count because the FBI should never have even started this investigation to begin with. That's the argument that John Durham has to prove. He has to prove that argument. Why? Because that's what Billy Barr told him, and Billy Barr works for Donald Trump. Donald Trump needs to make the Mueller report go away. If Donald Trump can prove that the FBI should have never started the investigation to begin with, that means they should have never have convicted his friends Roger Stone and Paul Manafort and Michael Flynn. And Ricky Gates and all those other ones, and then that way they get their convictions like taken off, and and Donald Trump is clean, right? But it's not true. You can't prove that. The FBI did have a reason to start the investigation. There was multiple evidence. There was evidence of multiple crimes, and it all ended up being like proven in court. In contrast to Durham, remember Durham's job was to prove that this was all just a hoax by Clinton. He had zero convictions. He got nobody. He couldn't prove anything in court. So his conspiracy theory that the FBI should have never have started to begin with is gone. But people keep referring to it as if it means something. The fact of the matter is that Donald Trump was a traitor. Donald Trump and the Republicans conspired and worked with the Russians to overthrow the 2016 elections. It's undeniable. Undeniable. They're traitors. Traitors.
DC League's
well, your mind is yes.
Well, Mueller's answer was yes. More important than mine, Mueller's answer was yes. Now, that information, of course, was helpful to the Trump campaign, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question, but that the Russians intruded into, hacked into the systems, they released information.
And that was helpful to the Trump campaign, right?
And the conclusion in the ICA and in the Mueller investigation was that the Russians intended to assist.
Can you answer my question, Mr. Durham? That was helpful to the Trump campaign, right?
Yeah, that's.
And Trump made use of that. As I said, didn't he, by touting those stolen documents on the campaign trail over 100 times?
I said, I don't really read the newspapers or listen to the news. I don't
really,
find that reliable, so I don't know that.
Mr. Durham, were you totally oblivious to Donald Trump's use of the stolen emails on the campaign trail more than 100 times? Did that escape your attention?
I am not aware of that.
So, like, he's playing dumb over and over and over again.
That Don Jr. was informed that a Russian official was offering the Trump campaign, quote, very high-level and sensitive information, unquote, that would be incriminating if Hillary Clinton was part of, quote, Russia and its government support of Mr. Trump. You aware of that?
Sure, people get phone calls all the time from individuals who claim to have information like that.
Really, the son of a presidential candidate gets calls all the time from foreign government offering dirt on their opponent? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think this is unique in your experience.
So you have other instances of the Russian government offering dirt on a presidential candidate to the presidential candidate's son. Is that what you're saying?
Would you repeat the question?
You said that it's not uncommon to get offers of help from a hostile foreign government in a presidential campaign directed at the president's son. You really stand by that, Mr. Durham?
I'm saying that people can make phone calls making claims all the time that you may have experienced.
Are you really trying to diminish the significance of what happened here and the secret meeting that the president's son set up in Trump Tower to receive that incriminating information? Are you trying to diminish the significance of that, Mr. Durham?
I'm not trying to diminish it at all, but I think the more complete story is that they met and it was a ruse and they didn't talk about Mrs. Clinton.
So in other words, he's repeating something that's already been debunked. He just repeated it. He just repeated the Russian, the cover-up under oath. He repeated the cover-up under oath. That's already been debunked. It's already been debunked.
And you think it's insignificant that he had a secret meeting with a Russian delegation for the purpose of getting dirt on Hillary Clinton, and the only disappointment expressed in that meeting was that the dirt they got wasn't better. You don't think that's significant?
I don't think that that was a well-advised thing to do.
Not well advised.
Right.
Well, that's the understatement of the year. So you think it's perfectly appropriate or maybe just ill-advised for a presidential campaign to secretly meet with a Russian delegation to get dirt on their opponent? You would merely say that's inadvisable?
Yeah, if you're asking me would I do it, I hope I wouldn't do it. But it was not illegal. It was stupid, foolish, ill-advised.
Well, it is illegal to conspire to get incriminating opposition research from a hostile government that is of financial value to a campaign. Wouldn't that violate campaign laws?
I don't know all those facts to be true.
John Durham's just covering his ass, trying to. So, I'm showing you this. I mean, there's so much of it, right? There's so much of it. It's hard to keep track of everything. But that's a pretty big one because they invested a lot of time and energy into John Durham, into his conspiracy theory, whatever. That all failed. So we know Donald Trump has conspired with Russia to overthrow the elections in 2016. So we already know this. We already know this to be true. So after we know this to be true, he is the leader of the Republicans to take the nomination. A guy, a traitor to the United States is now leading to take the nomination for President of the United States. Why would you even do that? Why would you nominate a guy who betrayed your nation? Because he didn't betray your nation. You see what I mean? There's this entity called the Confederacy. It exists as a constellation in the void. The only way it can be reproduced is via humans. And the legacy that the humans leave behind. The history that the humans leave behind. And this thing called the Confederacy conditions humans into believing it's its own thing, separate from the United States. But it conceals it from the people that it infects. Well, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they're just demoralized and easily manipulated. I don't know. But really, this guy is a traitor. How can, and then there's a party where he's the number one leader of it. Does that make the whole party a party of traitors? Doesn't it, right? Doesn't it work that way? There's current insurrectionists inside the Republican Party right now in the House. They almost caused the United States to default on its debt. I mean, it's a pretty serious thing. I can't laugh too hard at the Russians because, look what happened here. So to remind, this is a Stealthy Geek, Patrick S. Tomlinson. To remind everyone, January 6th wasn't Trump's Plan A, it wasn't even Plan B. Plan A was to steal the 2020 election with Putin's help, just as he'd done back in 2016. Blackmailing Ukraine for dirt on Biden was part of that effort. But it didn't work, twice. As soon as Plan A failed on November 3rd, Trump and company moved on into Plan B, create slates of fake electors from half a dozen swing states to try and simply steal the Electoral College vote on December 14th. Except that didn't work either. The fake electors weren't seated on the 14th. Only then did he move on to Plan C, overthrow the election on the Senate floor on January 6th as the electoral votes were formally entered. Big protest in D.C., Trump tweeted on December 19th. It will be wild. He replaced key positions in the Pentagon and turned screws on Pence. Trump whipped up an army of traitors to storm the heart of our democracy, to force his own vice president into capitulation, or, failing that, kill him. Once either outcome was achieved, he would have become dictator for life. It was only through heroics and blind luck he failed to. Many in the media misattribute January 6th as an isolated act of desperation instead of what it was, the third act of a carefully coordinated conspiracy between a sitting president and an army of domestic terrorists, a hostile foreign governments that came only 40 feet from fruition. Right? Yes. Yes. He tried multiple ways, multiple times to overthrow our democracy. And he could only do it if Americans were demoralized and gave up on the idea of truth. Because you can see through any of his lies as long as you have that idea of truth. But if you give up on the idea of truth, if you no longer use if truth is no longer your constant, then yeah, you can be easily manipulated and you could easily fall into Trump's lies. It's easy. All you have to do is give up on truth. All you have to do is give up on the idea that truth is knowable. All you have to do is to think that the only thing that matters is power. At that point, you become a fascist. What's another name for a fascist? Nazi. So dude, I'm so slow today. I went through Durham, got through Durham. It's gonna kind of go fast now. All right, let me just like ram through it, right? Oh wait! Before I start ramming through it, okay. So again, I've reiterated again that Donald Trump is a traitor, assisted by a bunch of traitor Congress people. I've shown how they believe they have their own country called the Confederacy, their own republic called the Confederacy, and that they act in a way as if it's a real thing, even if it's not. So they're conditioned to behave as if it's real. And they believe it because when you listen to them speak in their own words, they talk about their own people. Oh yeah, and I can show it because Donald Trump hasn't broken any Confederate laws. He hasn't betrayed the Confederacy. He only betrayed the United States. So that's why he can stay the front runner for the Republicans, because Donald Trump hasn't betrayed the Confederacy, only the Americans, only the United States. If Donald Trump started like waving a flag, a pride flag, and saying how it was great and great for gay people to be able to express themselves, and that book banning was bad, if he did that, he would be betraying the Confederacy, and they would get angry. And if he wanted to maintain power, he would shut up and continue giving the haters what they want. Because that's what it comes down to, right? He controls the mob, but the mob also controls him. Let me show you. I can give you an example of what that means. Of what? Oh no, I didn't just do that. You fucking idiot. All right. Well, here.
In critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children.
So look at them. They stand up and clap for him when he says that. They stand up and clap for him when he says that. Now watch what he says. Look at how he's controlled by them too. He's controlled by them too.
It's amazing how strongly people feel about that. You see, I'm talking about cutting taxes. People go like that. Talk about transgender. Everyone goes crazy. Who would have thought 5 years ago you didn't know what the hell it was? But
and they laugh. 5 years we didn't even know what it was, and now we're just like crazy about it. Right? Donald Trump has to adapt. He has to adapt. He can't treat Republicans as if they're like rational people who follow like a sane policy, like that's consistent, like taxes, right? It used to always be taxes. You always talk about cutting taxes. That used to get the base fired up. It doesn't work anymore. Donald Trump has to adapt. What do they want? Got to give them what they want. They want hate. Donald Trump will give them hate. He has to give them what they want, else he loses their interest and loses their power, his power over them. He has to give them what they want, and what they want is hate. That's why I say the Confederacy is real, and that, yeah. It's real. That's so cool. I have to get other colors though. To get other colors, you have to hatch frogs in different biomes. So I have to get a couple frogs, keep them where I can like make them so they always breed. Breeding pen. Breed my couple. Breed non-stop. That's kind of creepy, but Minecraft, right? I want different colors of frog lights. I don't want to just be stuck with one color. I want all the colors. All the colors! Frog lights. That's so cool. Pearlescent. That's the color I have. Pearlescent. But I want the others. So I need different color frogs. That's so cool though. It looks so good. All right, man. I have no more coffee. Okay. Yeah. So if the base ever saw Donald Trump with something like this, they would crucify him. They'd be like, "No, I will renounce you. You've betrayed us, Donald Trump." But actually, they won't. What they'll say is that that's not real. They'll say that's not a real one. That's a deep fake. So I don't even know if it's real. I don't know where it came from. So I don't know. It could be fake. I don't know. All right, what do we got here? Alito failed to report trip with billionaire. Paul Singer, ProPublica says. Free private jet to Alaska. $1,000 night per night lodge under scrutiny. Justice said no disclosure the travel was required by the court. U.S. Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito failed to disclose a luxury fishing trip he took with billionaire Paul Singer, and then declined to recuse himself from cases involving the hedge fund founder, ProPublica reported. So that's Samuel Alito, that's Paul Singer, and that's us. We're being fucking like taken for a ride. So this billionaire basically paid for this Supreme Court justice to go with him on a private trip to go fishing. and say, hey, and then this billionaire had business before this guy's court, and this guy didn't recuse himself. He's like, oh, why would I recuse myself from my friend's court business? He's my friend. I need to show that my friend that we're friends. So yeah, dude, he voted to make sure that this guy's business went okay. I can't afford these trips. Paul Singer doesn't fucking offer these trips to me. Why would he offer me these trips? I don't sit on the Supreme Court. Dude, this guy is corrupt as shit. It's so fucked up. All these these guys are corrupt. We need to get rid of these judges, dude. We need a way to get rid of judges. And the way we get rid of judges that are bad is by expanding the court, the size of the court, to like 25, and then make it rotating, so that there's a term limit, and that every president gets to elect a certain number of justices, and a certain number of justices get termed out every year. I mean, like, it's, or every fucking presidential cycle. That way, that cuts down on corruption in the court. Because look at this shit. This is bullshit. This billionaire is buying a fucking Supreme Court justice, just like Harlan Crow bought Clarence Thomas. Dude, they're just buying justices. It's fucking ridiculous. Here's another ridiculous thing. Just as the 8:30, this is from Unicorn Riot, just as the 8:30 p.m. vigil for Manuel Tortuga, Tehran was set to begin in Brownwood Park, several dozen Atlanta police officers in tactical vests, some masked, swept through under the pretext of telling Stop Cop City protesters the park closes at 11. This started at 11:30 p.m. So why would a fucking armed fucking battalion of cops sweep through a park at 8:30 p.m. to tell protesters the park closes at 11 p.m.? Why would they do that? To terrorize them, because the Atlanta police are terrorists, literally terrorists. Remember when they sent a SWAT team to arrest people for financial crimes on PayPal in small dollar amounts? Why would they do that? Because they're fucking terrorists. They didn't send a SWAT team to recover fucking stolen top secret documents from the U.S. government when Donald Trump took it. Why? Because they're not trying to terrorize Donald Trump. They're trying to terrorize regular people, because they're fucking terrorists. The police are terrorists. That's why you have to defund them. Fuck the police. I don't own any property. All right. Seasonally adjusted construction spending annual rate monthly from January 2002 to April 2023. In other words, construction spending has been flat. Hasn't done shit for like 20 years. Hasn't done shit for 20 years. Doesn't matter what happened. Doesn't matter who's president. Hasn't done shit for 20 years. Until Biden got into office. And then they passed the Biden Infrastructure Act, the Manchin Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS bill, a fucking bunch of shit. Congress under the Democratic trifecta passed a bunch of fucking bills, and suddenly construction spending is like through the roof. All right, good job. So the Infrastructure and Jobs Act is doing what? $120 billion for utilities, $110 for roads and bridges, $66 billion for rails, $65 billion for broadband, $39 billion for public transit, and $145 billion for other stuff. So the CHIPS Act, that's to get us to not be dependent on Taiwan. Taiwan's like a powder keg, man. Well, I don't even want to be over there, to be honest. I don't. I mean, we're there, but it's so touchy. It's so like scary. So I think it's great that we're enticing businesses to come back to the United States to build their chips over here instead of a powder keg. Like, we're a little more stable in the United States, I would say. Except for the domestic terrorists, the white supremacist terrorists. But we're going to get a handle on them pretty soon. So, all right. So, in other words, fucking A, Democrats and Joe Biden for getting shit done here in the United States. I dig it. No complaints. Billionaires versus poor people. The world rallied to find missing Titan sub, but ignored shipwrecked migrants. The massive search for a missing submersible was a stark contrast to the treatment of a ship packed with people fleeing conflict. This is true. Like, there are always ships fleeing Africa, the African continent, trying to make it to Europe to apply for refugee status. But they get, like, they drown. And then no one comes to help them. They just die. They just fucking die. No one cares. Why? Because there's a lot of them, and they're poor. There's a lot of them, and they're poor. But a fucking dumbass submersible billionaire builds a shoddy-ass, like, YOLO sub and charges money to go on rides, and then gets himself killed because he's a dumbass, and all these governments will spend a shit ton of money in order to go look for them. But they won't help the poor people. Why? Are the governments hoping they'll get a payout from the billionaire? Good luck. Even if you were lucky enough to rescue the billionaire, that billionaire is not going to help your government. The billionaire is just going to expend his resources to weaken your government and strengthen billionaires. Like, it's so stupid. I can't get over it. I can't get over it. I mean, like, right? This is a meme. 5 rich missing men, multi-million-dollar rescue operation, as opposed to 750 missing migrants. The response is tighten the borders so they can't get across. Like, those are human beings. You can see them. They need help. You can help them. It's possible to save them. It's possible to help them, and so they don't die. But do we do anything? No. Here's 5 rich missing men. We fucking send, like, coast guards and helicopters and expend ridiculous amounts of resources to find the fucking debris field. Fuck them, dude. Our priorities are fucked up. Look at us. We're fucked up. That's us, right? I'm looking at us. We're fucked up. All right. Boebert. Remember Lauren Boebert? Lauren Boebert on January 6th at 8:30 a.m. was all in on the coup to overthrow American democracy in the United States. She was all in. She said, this is a revolution. She said, this is a revolution. And what happened? She's in fucking Congress right now, dude. She voted to give the speakership to Paul Manafort, Kevin McCarthy. So this is not inconsequential. Homegirl should be fucking in prison, but yet she's a congressperson. Man, shit's fucked up in our country. Like, what's going on here? Now, what does she do? What's happening? Live from the House floor, Dems cheering for him. Well, this is Rep. Andy Ogles, right? I think he's a Confederate. I think he's a Nazi. So a Nazi is saying, Dems are cheering, for a man who quote lied about what? I don't even understand what they're talking about. Oh, I get it. I remember. Okay, so remember all that bullshit about John Durham? So Donald Trump is a traitor, right? And all the people who helped Donald Trump are traitors as well. This guy right here. So all the Republicans are traitors. All of them. Why? Adam Schiff. The only reason why they voted to censure Adam Schiff is because Adam Schiff was on the January 6th committee. that exposed the ties between Donald Trump and the Russians to overthrow the 2016 election. Because Adam Schiff exposed that connection, the Republicans tried to censure, or are going to censure Adam Schiff. You mean the Republicans are helping Donald Trump and the Republic and the Russians? Yes, that's what I'm saying. Republicans are literally traitors. Look what they've done. They're trying to cover up the connection between Donald Trump, the Republicans, and Russia. They're literally traitors. I don't know what to tell you guys, right? I don't know what to tell you. Use the light of truth. I'm not. If you think I'm talking bullshit, then test it via the light of truth. Don't take my word for it. Use the light of truth to examine it on your own. Fuck, guys. I mean, like, I'm trying to help you here, right? Lauren Boebert is a traitor. She's basically telling us that she's a traitor. Oh yeah, that's the point of this, right? She said, "Is this an insurrection?" She's like, "No, dude, not at all, nothing at all." But when you're a fascist, you have no concept of truth. Therefore, anything can be anything else. The only thing that matters is power. That's why fascists want to get rid of truth. Because once you get rid of the light of truth, anything can be anything else, depending on if it helps you or not. So for Lauren Boebert, she says it's not an insurrection when she tries to overthrow the government of the United States. But it is an insurrection if you clap on the floor. You see what I mean? She has given up on the idea of truth. Well, maybe not. Maybe she hasn't given up. Maybe she's a Nazi, so she's fully on board trying to obscure truth. That's what she's trying to do, obscure truth, because there's no connection between what the Democrats are doing here and an insurrection. But there is a connection between what Lauren Boebert does and an insurrection. There's a very strong connection. She's literally a traitor. Lauren Boebert's literally a traitor. So Charlie Kirk is a Nazi. And Charlie Kirk is a Nazi, and he believes that cis is a slur. I don't know what he's talking about, right? Charlie Kirk believes that cis is a slur. That's not true. Oh yeah, this is a good one. Sherwood, Oregon resident David Anthony Medina still not arrested after having been identified for over 2 years. So yeah, this guy is a traitor who was in the part of the insurrection to overthrow democracy in the United States. This guy puts him in Sherwood, Oregon. I'm not sure. I did like a real quick search for him on Facebook. Here it is again, right? So there he is. There's Sherwood resident Medina committing like part of the mob to overthrow democracy. That's the only thing I could find. And he says he's in Portland, Oregon now. He says he's in Portland, Oregon. He says he's a defender of truth, which is his justification for trying to overthrow democracy on January 6th. He says he's in Portland now, but who knows, right? I don't know where he is. This is the last post on his page, which tells me he deleted everything on his Facebook page. But I don't care if you've had your vaccination. He's an anti-vax person, and he's a Trumper. He's a Trumper. So he's a bad guy, and he's an insurrectionist. The FBI should probably find this person, David Medina. He's a bad guy. He's a bad, dangerous person. I don't know what this is. But yeah, that guy, traitor. All right, let's see what else do I got. United States, COVID-19 weekly death rate by vaccination status, all ages, from October 19th, 2021 to April 1st, 2023. The people, so the death rate, we're looking at death rate. The unvaccinated fucking were massacred, dude. They were massacred in the beginning. And then like it kind of petered out, but they maintain a higher death rate than everyone else, regardless. Then there's vaccinated with bivalent booster. That's the teal, right? That one's like super low. It's the lowest of them all. And then there's vaccinated without bivalent booster. So yeah, people died even with the vaccine in the beginning, but nowhere near the rate that the unvaccinated died. That difference is fucking huge, dude. That difference is huge. Holy shit. Like, if you were vaccinated and you got COVID, you probably lived. Under 5% chance of dying. If you were unvaccinated and you got COVID, you had like a 1 in 3 chance of dying. Holy shit. Damn, dude. Damn. And then it petered out once you got treatment under control. But you still were more at risk of dying, more than anyone else. Crazy, man. Woke. I found a definition of woke. Ron DeSantis was using this term all the time during his speech, but he never defines it. So I think this is a good way of defining it. Woke means whatever offends Klansmen easily. So if you hear someone start saying that's woke, what they mean is that it offends Klansmen, it offends racists, is what they're telling you. Like, oh, this thing offends racists. Okay, thanks for telling me. Thanks for identifying what offends racists. Thank you. Ron DeSantis is really good at identifying what offends racists. He tells you all the time. Here, Donald Trump accidentally tells the truth. Donald Trump on his media post truth social says they don't go after the people who cheated in the election. They only go after the people who report on or question the cheating. And then Trump accurately, this is Empty Wheel's annotation, Empty Wheel. Trump accurately describes the intent and outcome of the Durham investigation. Durham didn't go after the people who cheated in the election. Durham didn't go after Paul Manafort. Durham didn't go after Konstantin Kilimnik. Durham didn't go after WikiLeaks. Durham didn't go after the Russians who attacked us. And what's funny is, you know those Russian nationals that Mueller indicted? One of them is Prigozhin, the guy who led the rebellion in Russia like 24 hours ago. Okay. No, Durham only goes after the people who report on or question the cheating. So, I don't know. Okay, what else we got? Wines. George Santos's dad does not have the money. The redacted transcript of the hearing at which his dad signed the appearance bond has been released, and his dad attests that neither he nor his aunt owns any property or home that could satisfy the $500,000 bond. So in other words, somebody gave Mr. Santos the money. They said, here's $500,000. Use this money to provide bond for George Santos so he can get out of jail and go vote in Congress. So who gave him the money? We don't know. We don't know who bailed out this criminal. Because remember, George Santos is indicted for fraud. And he should be in jail, but he's not in jail because his dad put up $500,000 bond. A bond his dad does not have the money for, which means someone gave his dad the money. Who's that person? Someone who has an interest in George Santos voting in the House. Because George Santos is not in jail, he can vote on House bills in the government. Holy shit. Do you see how, oh my god, it's so blatant how Republicans are corrupt. Years after they had their lives ruined and turned upside down by conspiracy theorists, Ruby Freeman and her daughter, Wandrea Al-Shay, Shay Moss, were officially cleared by Georgia authorities on Tuesday. Georgia poll workers targeted by Trump cleared of false election fraud claims. The official state report comes years after Ruby Freeman and her daughter, Shay Moss, were interviewed by law enforcement agencies. So remember back in 2020, Donald Trump is trying to overthrow the election. He and his supporters made up some fucking conspiracy theory about these poll workers. And because they did that, you know what stochastic terrorism is? Stochastic terrorism is, I don't have the definition, but you make it more likely that some rando fucking person is gonna do violence against these people for no fucking reason. For no reason. They were just poll workers doing their job, and then some powerful person like said some evil thing about them and like put their lives at risk for no reason. Well, for his own benefit. Donald Trump put their lives at risk for his own fucking benefit because Donald Trump is evil. I'm telling you, guys, I'm telling you, the United States ought to put Donald Trump on trial for treason. And if he's found guilty, the United States should use the death penalty against Donald Trump. I will say it every fucking day. Every day. Donald Trump should be given the death penalty for what he did. Not by a mob, not by a rando, not by Vladimir Putin, by the United States. It has to be the United States. No. Keep him alive, dude. Keep him healthy and safe. We have to put Donald Trump on trial, and then the United States can execute him for treason. If found guilty in a court of law. That's the whole point, right? To put him on trial, to put him through the process, to give Donald Trump due process of law. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. Give him due process of law. And at the end, you know why I keep saying to give Donald Trump the death penalty? Let me show you why. These guys right here, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. Who are they? Julius Rosenberg and Ethel Rosenberg were an American married couple who were convicted of spying for the Soviet Union, including providing top secret information about American radar, sonar, jet propulsion engines, and nuclear weapon designs. Convicted of espionage in 1951, they were executed by the federal government of the United States in 1953. So, they provided information about nuclear weapon designs. Who else provided information about nuclear weapons designs? Donald Trump. Donald Trump. He stole information, top secret information kept inside of a secure facility inside DC. He smuggled it out. He smuggled it out and took it to Mar-a-Lago and to Bedminster, but Mar-a-Lago, and put it in an area easily accessible to Chinese spies. Chinese spies have a base in Cuba. A base in Cuba where they can easily move between Mar-a-Lago and their base. So Donald Trump took nuclear secrets out of the the top secret secured facility and put them in Mar-a-Lago for the Chinese to take. Do I have absolute proof that's what he intended? No, I don't. This is my speculation. Well, that's not my speculation. That's actually what happened. Because there's a reason why the Americans put that information in a secure facility. Because spies were looking to take it. All the time they're looking to take it. All the time. That's why you keep it top secret and hide it. That's why they did it. They wouldn't do it if the spies weren't after it. Donald Trump took it out of the place where the spies could not get it and put it into a place where the spies could get it. Did he do it willingly, on purpose? I think so. I don't think he's that dumb. I don't think he's so stupid as to think, oh, I'm just keeping boxes here. I think that's his cover story, to say that, oh, I'm just being stupid. I didn't know what I was doing. Motherfucker knew full well that what he was doing. He knew full well that he was giving access to spies, to all these top secret documents. He knew full well. He's not dumb. He's not stupid. He was president for 4 years and told every fucking day top secret information about our enemies trying to get us. Every day he was told this stuff. He's not dumb. He knew exactly what he was doing when he stole those top secret documents. He's not dumb. So, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg were executed for espionage against the United States. Donald Trump, too, is charged with espionage. So, I fully believe the United States should use capital punishment on Donald Trump, if only to prove that the United States is not being hypocritical. That the law applies to rich men just as much as it applies to poor people. If the United States can execute poor people, it can execute rich people. Why? Because the United States is a nation of laws. And that's what the law says. And he broke the law. And this is the punishment. That's what the law says. We already did it. We already did it to other people. Why would we stop now? Why would we stop for this guy? Why? Why would we stop for this guy? We've already done it. We've done it 1,000 times. Why would we stop for this one guy when he's done the one thing to everyone? Why would we stop now? I don't get it. Why would you stop for this one guy? For just this guy? Why? Why? What makes him different than the others? Did they all not do a crime? All the other people executed by the United States. Were they all not guilty? Did they all not do a crime? What makes this one different? Here's how we use land in the United States. You got, let's see, you got your private family land, timber land. You got your federal state timber land. You got that little tiny area of clear-cut area, which sucks. Clear-cut sucks. Then you got your area burned by wildfires, but you know what? That's going to become way bigger. This little thing here is going to become huge and engulf almost all of this stuff because of climate change. It's going to be awful. Okay. And Weyerhaeuser has this huge chunk. I don't even know what a Weyerhaeuser is. Anyways, then we use national parks, federal wilderness, state parks. Cool. You can't even see anything. All right. We use a huge chunk for cows, sheep, horses, and farms. No, hardly anything. This is for farms. This is what we use for farms, and this is what we use for cows. Dudes, This is a shitty use of land. This is like a total waste of land. We could take all of this and give it back to federal wilderness. We could take like a huge chunk of it and take that all back to federal wilderness. And that would be amazing. Amazing. You would have wild buffalo again. Baller! Because like it's a waste of land and energy and food to grow cows to slaughter them for their meat. It's way more efficient to grow meat in a petri dish, cleanly, sterile meat in a petri dish that doesn't need any other fucking contaminants wrecking it. It's way easier to do it that way than it is to like grow a fucking cow and use all this space to do it. I mean, you're gonna have your boutique meat places where you can still buy real meat, you know, and the meat is and the cow is raised the right way, not like a fucking factory animal. You still have that, of course. It's gonna be hella expensive, but it'll be there. But we shouldn't be fucking using so much land for cows. That's just dumb, dude. Come on. Look at, not only do you have all this land just for cows, then you have this huge chunk to feed the cows. Oh my god, it's such a waste, guys. It's such a waste. Imagine what we could do like if we just gave this back to nature. Oh my gosh, just give it back to nature. Think of the carbon sink that it would be. The prairie. If you let the prairie just, because what does the prairie do, dude? The prairie every day it grows grass super quick, and it sucks all that out of the air and dumps it into the earth as carbon, as topsoil. It rejuvenates the topsoil. Our farming practices in the Midwest have been so bad that it's been stripping the topsoil. We've been losing shit tons of topsoil. The only reason why the United States is so awesome is because we have a giant breadbasket that should have been Canada's, right? All of that stuff should have been Canada's, but oh shit. Anyways, but the glaciers scraped it all off of Canada and dumped it on the United States. That's the only reason why the United States has that amazing capacity to grow wheat. And we've been treating it like shit. We've been treating it terribly, contaminating it with chemicals and fracking it and just wrecking it, dudes. We've been terrible stewards of our land. We need to rejuvenate our plains, our Great Plains, because it's a carbon sink. And the way you rejuvenate it is by not having anything on it, letting the grass grow wild on it, and letting the buffalo roam free on it to add to the composting topsoil goodness, and then build it back up. We can do it. And then we can add machines on top of it to keep adding to it with nuclear power. Anyways, so look at how much land we use and like how much better. Look at all this land just for sugar, for corn syrup. Corn syrup is essentially sugar. Man. Look at this tiny little thing for flowers. The 100 largest landowning families control Florida, basically. Anyways, it's fucking great. It's fucking great. Let's keep going. The big takeaway from the ProPublica piece, Leonard Leo is basically running a foster care program from far right-wing Supreme Court justices, so each one has a billionaire big brother to look after them. So Alito's excuse here, the private jet seat would have gone unused otherwise, is for the ages. But if you see you start to see the bigger picture, which is that Leonard Leo basically pairs each new justice with a billionaire sponsor family when they arrive. So the key is Leonard Leo, who I don't know is, but that's all right. Here's more closer to home. Baker City Mayor Matt Diaz posts anti-LGBT swastika meme on Facebook for Pride Month. So that's Matt Diaz, and that's him posting the shitty meme, right? Because he's a transphobe. And it wasn't just a one-off, right? It wasn't a one-off. because he posted on his Facebook page. He's the mayor of a fucking town, dude. It's awful. Like, imagine being trans and living in the same town as this guy, and your mayor posting this about you, right? That's fucking terrible. So I don't want to go through this, dude. I'm getting tired. I need to drink water. Hold on, give me a second. Water. Intermission. Water. Talking. I have energy. I just don't have the mouth. Down that glass. Much better. Oh, that's a dangerous place to stop. Why is it dangerous? Because monsters spawn right over here. Yeah, so we have these billionaires who are buying off Supreme Court justices for life. So it's a great investment for them because they get in return on their investment when their company comes before that Supreme Court justice and rules in their favor. So it's corrupt. We need to fix it. It's corrupt. Okay. Matt Diaz. I was talking about Matt Diaz. He's a piece of shit. Fuck him. He purports to be a Christian, but actually he worships the white idol. Debate me, bro. That's funny. You can't debate Nazis because, like, it's like playing chess with a pigeon. Hey, this goes out to a certain someone. Always trying to channel Mr. Rogers. So what does Mr. Rogers say? Remember that episode? I'm not very good at it, but it doesn't matter. No matter how anybody says it is, it feels good to have made something. So it doesn't matter if people say that you do bad at art. That's like an oxymoron. Well, kinda. Not really, but like, it doesn't matter. Like, art is not a competition. Like, who are you competing against? Like, no one's the art judge. No one's the art god. Like, you create art because it feels good to create. It feels good to create. It's good to create. It's good. It's good to express what's inside and you make it come outside. It's good to do that. It's good. The more you do it, the better you get. Like, it's good to create. It's good. So if someone comes along and tells you what you've created is bad or makes you feel bad for creating, like, that's harmful, and you should protect yourself from that. You should disregard what that person says because it doesn't matter what they say. That person can't tell you what you feel. If it feels good to create, which it does, you should do it. So if they come along and say, oh, what you're painting or you're drawing is bad, fuck you. It feels good to create. I'm going to keep doing it anyways. I don't care what you say. Someone else is going to come along and say it's great. So, fuck off. You hater. See what I mean? Hate. Yeah. Negative. You got to be careful with that negative energy. Negative energy is like, you can use it, right? Negative energy isn't inherently bad. It's just negative. It's just negative. You got to be careful where you put it and how you use it, right? It just is. But you got to be careful with it. So Mr. Rogers is a great healer. I love Mr. Rogers. He's a great guy. He's fucking fantastic. Mr. Rogers is awesome. Mr. Rogers is what you would call woke. All right. So, yes, continue to create. Do something. Make something happen. Do it. Just do it. Just do it. This poor actress is going to be a meme forever. All right. Cisgendered people think cis is a slur because they use trans as a slur. You see, isn't that interesting? How you can reveal something you didn't intend on revealing when you broadcast something. You can leak it. It's called, you can leak information. You leak information when you broadcast. That information you didn't necessarily intend on leaking. So yeah, Elon Musk recently indicated or said that he considers cisgendered, the word cisgendered, to be a slur, and that he will ban people from Twitter for using that term. But that term is a medical term. It's a generally accepted term. It's a term. It's not a slur at all. It's not associated with hate at all. It has no history associated with hate. There's no history of hate associated with the term cisgendered. But it is revealing of the people who believe that cisgendered is a slur. It reveals something. The negative space tells you something. Yeah, they use trans as a slur. They think trans is a slur. The word trans is not a slur. It just is. It just is. It's just the way they are, right? It just is. Here we go, right? Elon Musk says the words cis or cisgendered are considered slurs on this platform. And since he paid $44 billion for the platform, what he says goes. So he considers trans to be a slur. Well, Elon Musk is a Nazi. We all know this. Cory Bush reiterates, cisgendered is not a slur. It is a term used in scientific, legal, medical, and everyday contexts. The attempt to make cis a slur is a blatant attempt to erase trans identities from a supposed free speech absolutist. Trans people exist. Cis people exist. I mean, it should... but it's revealing... Atlantique Nord. Helicopters, send everyone to go rescue billionaires who imploded. In the Mediterranean, Mediterranee? Mediterranee? Je ne sais pas. Yeah, sinking, there's a bunch of migrants that everyone knows about, but they sink and die, and no one cares. No one cares. So class dynamics at play. Note the class dynamics at play. All right. This photo is real and not edited. The stone is real. The trees are real. The soil is real. And the sky is real. Now, the only thing you have to do is change your point of view. Look at the photo upside down. What's going on, right? It looks trippy as hell, right? Looks trippy as hell. But then you look at the photo upside down. Can I do that? If you rotate. Image, rotate. Flip vertically. Now it makes sense. Now it makes sense. Perception is very, 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 very powerful. Framing is very, very, very powerful. Your brain can be tricked easily. Even I am not immune. Flip again. Even I am not immune. I could not figure out what the hell was going on in this picture. Like, my brain was broken. I'm like, man, that thing is flying. Like, and those trees are over the horizon, and that thing looks like it's a flying saucer, right? But I don't know how it's doing it, and it's flying over the desert, and over here, that's like part of the land that has like vegetation on it, and this is the ridge. Like my brain was totally tricked into like thinking, and that rock somehow is floating, and I have to figure out how is that rock floating. No, it's not floating, dude. It's in the water. But my brain was tricked. Prigozhin. Just a reminder. Prigozhin and the Internet Research Agency troll farms. I was never just a financier of the Internet Research Agency. I invented it. I created it. I ran it for a long time. Wagner founder Prigozhin admits he was behind Russia's infamous troll farms. The once publicly adverse founder of Russia's Wagner's mercenary group has for the first time confirmed the widespread belief that he controlled it. So basically this guy created Internet Research Agency, a troll farm in St. Petersburg, Russia. He hired a bunch of Russians to flood all of the message boards on Facebook in the United States with fake information. Their only goal was to cause fights between the Americans and to make sure that no true information could get out. He wanted everyone to be confused and demoralized. Then when Konstantin Kilimnik got that information from Paul Manafort, it was information from the Republicans about really, really detailed polling information about the entire United States. He could then use that information to direct his troll army to attack certain districts, to demoralize everyone in that district and stop them from voting, so that they can get the person they want to win in that district. And it's a billionaire financing this massive, and beyond the billionaire is a whole country. It's a government sponsored attack on the United States people in order to make this work. You have to understand the fucking extent of this. And he was indicted by Mueller. So he would go to trial and be imprisoned if we could get him. He's already indicted. He's already indicted by Robert Mueller. We already want to put him on trial. So priorities. 20 years in jail for rescuing 1,000 low-income migrants who were forced to put their lives at risk. Expanded search for rescuing a few billionaires who chose to put their lives at risk. Criminalizing poverty and excusing opulence. Shake my head. We don't have to live like this. And what is this? This is called juxtaposition. This is an artistic technique. This is a technique. Juxtaposition. You take two things that are totally opposite, and you put them next to each other on purpose, because the contrast creates a dissonance in your perception. It creates a glitch in the matrix, so you get a clear picture of what's going on. Otherwise, you're just happy-go-lucky in a haze. Using juxtaposition to jolt aware the observer into seeing what lies beyond the veil is really, really powerful. So look at this. In the paper, Morning Star, German sea captain faces 20 years in jail for migrant rescue efforts. A German sea captain faces 20-year prison sentence for helping to rescue more than 1,000 migrants at risk of drowning in the Mediterranean Sea. She took her boat and went around to ships in the Mediterranean that were about to sink, and she fucking rescued the people and then brought them to safety. And then went out and saved more people and brought them to safety. Went out and saved more people, brought them to safety. And then the government caught her and said, okay, you saved these people from prison, from drowning in the sea. We're going to put you in jail. Meanwhile, missing Titanic sub search team expanded search area as oxygen fears mount. Researchers have doubled the search area in the hunt for five people on a sub missing after a dive to see the Titanic wreck site. These people chose to use their money to get in a fucking piece of shit sub that was on purpose not certified, so it was cheap. On purpose not certified, so it was cheap. You're a fucking billionaire, dude. Why would you even care about how cheap it was? You're a billionaire. Oh my gosh. But to save these people, the government spent tons of money and resources to save them. In contrast, the government spent no money or resources to save thousands of people that this one person did save. And in response, they're going to imprison her for it. What kind of world do we live in which both of these things are true? Remember I told you about how Clarence Thomas has been purchased by Harlan Crow? Clarence Thomas's latest criminal justice ruling is an outright tragedy. Clarence Thomas, along with the others, basically voted in the last Supreme Court ruling that it's if the courts mess up and imprison a person for because of their error, that the person in prison has no recourse. They have no way of undoing the mistake from the court. They can't do it. What the court says is binding forever and can never be challenged, according to Clarence Thomas, according to Harlan Crow, because he only says what Harlan Crow wants him to say. So why would the billionaire want to make unelected wizards rulings to be unchallengeable? That's like going back to the era of popes and kings. Why would you want to go back to that? Oh, because you have all the money. Meanwhile, remember when I asked this 2 days ago? We house nearly 2 million people in prisons and jails. But when heat disasters, flooding, hurricanes, freezing, and mass power outages hit, we allow leaders to forget about the human beings they hold in their custody. This has to change. Austin set a new all-time unofficial heat index record of 117 degrees today, according to KVUE chief meteorologist. The problem is that people in prisons and jails don't get air conditioning, so they're suffering intensely, especially when they have no way of alleviating that heat. They can't get away and just take a shower. They can't just move to a shaded area. They can't do anything. They're stuck in a heated box until they fucking die from the heat. It's awful. It's torture, guys. We can't be doing that, especially since the state is the one who put them there. The state is obliged to heat and to air condition those facilities so the prisoners aren't fucking suffering unduly. No part of their punishment says they have to suffer temperature extremes. No part of their suffering of their sentence says they have to endure temperature extremes. That's harsh and unusual punishment. That's unusual punishment to force them to endure temperature extremes in ill-equipped facilities. The state is obliged to ensure that they're not fucking overly hot or overly cold. It's just dumb. I'm not saying like super air conditioning in the summer. I'm saying don't make it like 90, 100 degrees in their cells. That's just crazy, dudes. Like, that's harsh. And the only reason why this goes unpunished is because it's the lowest people in society. They're just like the migrants. That means that I could be walking down the street and a police officer can just fucking arrest me. I can be thrown in prison and I could suffer. I am like no different than the migrants who are trying to escape and who their oppressive situation and on a boat, and that the other governments just let die and drown in the Mediterranean. My dad, who raised me, is technically a refugee from an an economic situation where it was no future whatsoever. That's why he came, and because he illegally came to this country, I am here right now, able to speak and live. So I am kind of connected to this. I'm like proof. I'm proof that we ought to be taking care of these people. We ought to be saving the lowest people in our society, because the lowest people in our society go on to help foster the culture of our nation and strengthen the roots of our nation. You have to help them. You have to help them. Railroad workers finally got their holidays. The Biden administration and the Department of Transportation under Pete Buttigieg finally got the workers their paid sick leave. Finally, after all this time. I know we haven't heard about it in the news so much, but I guess they'd been working on it ever since. So they finally got it, and even the union bosses are saying it, right? Biden deserves a lot of credit for achieving this goal, Russo says. He and his team continued to work behind the scenes to get all of rail labor a fair agreement for paid sick leave. So all right? I gave Biden a bunch of shit, and I gave Pete Buttigieg a bunch of shit when he first sided with the bosses and averted the rail strike. I gave him a fuck ton of shit. So I have to eat my words now. I did not know that he continued to work behind the scenes to make sure that the rail workers got their paid sick leave. I have to eat my words. So I'll do that, right? Fine, right? Biden fucking came through. Okay. All right, Biden. Good job. Biden got the rail workers their sick leave. The union's happy. Everyone's happy. The bosses are happy. Fucking we're happy. All right. Pete Buttigieg fucking did it. Okay. Good job. Joe Biden fucking did it. Okay. Fine. I admit it. I-95 reopened in like a week, less than a week, dude, in Pittsburgh. Like, that's amazing. That's amazing. So, you know what? I got to give it to the fucking Department of Transportation again. Pete Buttigieg. Fucking Pete, dude. Fucking Pete. He did it again. All right. Got to give credit where credit's due. This light, dude. I love that light. That light's so cool. All right. All right, check it out. Moms for Liberty is a white supremacist group. It's a right-wing group. It's called Moms for Liberty, but it's about promoting white supremacy. How do I know? This is their newsletter, June 2023. This is their June newsletter. We're in June right now of 2023. This just came out. What was their quote in their newsletter? It was a quote by Adolf Hitler. I am not making this up, guys. I am not making this up. I don't have to. Why make things up when the truth is so much more hilarious? They literally quoted Hitler as inspiration for their movement. So I keep saying this over and over again because it holds true a lot of times. Birds of a feather flock together. Birds, if there's an association between groups, you can probably assume they have shared values. If there's an association between groups, you can probably assume there's a shared value. So Moms for Liberty is hooked up with white supremacy and Hitler. This guy is named RFK Jr. He's speaking for Moms for Liberty. So a group who's inspired by quotes from Hitler has invited this RFK Jr. guy to come speak at their meeting. And he says yes. They have an association. So if I know Moms for Liberty is a right-wing Nazi organization, and RFK Jr. is happily speaking at their event, I can assume that RFK Jr. is probably fascist adjacent. He's probably okay with fascists. If he's okay at speaking at their event, he's probably okay with Nazis. What gives support to my idea that RFK Jr. is probably okay with Nazis is that he takes pictures with them. Birds of a feather flock together. So here's a picture of RFK Jr. with two people who are of note. This is Roger Stone. He is convicted of lying to the FBI. And this is Mike Flynn. He too is convicted of lying to the FBI. They were both part of the conspiracy for Donald Trump to overthrow the United States. Robert Mueller convicted both of these people. And then Donald Trump came along later and pardoned them both. So basically, they were part of the Russian effort to overthrow the government. Michael Flynn was literally an agent of Turkey and who was interested in kidnapping someone here in the United States to deliver to Turkey, the Turkish government. And here's Robert RFK Jr. hanging out with them. It's because they're on the same team. Robert RFK Jr. is part of the attempt to overthrow the government. He's a bad guy. He's a fascist. He's a bad guy. You don't see pictures of Joe Biden hanging out with Roger Stone and Mike Flynn. You don't see pictures of Joe Biden hanging out with convicted traitors. I mean, they're convicted. These are convicted criminals. You don't see Joe Biden hanging out with indicted people. And Donald Trump is indicted. Birds of a feather flock together. History rhyming. Another Shabbat, another uncontrolled rampage by Jewish settlers against defenseless Palestinians, this time in the West Bank village of Safa. The sixth rampage by unconstrained settler mobs on Palestinian towns, villages this week. So essentially what's happening are Israeli settlers show up, right? They're squatters. They show up and they basically say, we're going to squat your land and take your land, and this is our land now. After they set up shop in their houses and set up all that shit on someone else's land, then they come out with rocks and sticks and bottles and clubs and sometimes guns, and they come out and they fuck with the peoples whose lands they're squatting on, right? They come along and they fuck with them like hardcore, and if the people whose lands they're squatting on try to defend themselves against the settlers who come and squat on their lands, the Israeli government sends in the military to defend the settlers and allows the settlers to harass the Palestinians until the Palestinians give up and go away and give up their land to the settlers. And then what do the settlers do? They move in, they take the land, and then they set up a base, and then they harass the next neighbors of Palestinians and almost kill them over and over and over again. That happens over and over and over again. That's how they seize land. That's how the Israelis seize land illegally from the Palestinians. And the Palestinians don't have a state. They don't have an army. They don't have a government to protect them. So they just get eaten up. Their land gets eaten up. Does this remind you of anything at all? Anything? Well, if you've been hanging out on my show and you've been following along to my idea that history doesn't necessarily repeat, that it rhymes, you will identify this as a rhyme. This is a rhyme of history. This is a rhyme of history. It's not the same thing, but it sounds like the same thing. And I'll tell you what it rhymes with. This rhymes with USA settler colonialism. Expansion, conquest. This right here rhymes with American settler conquest. And remember, you can make associations. Birds of a feather flock together. So you can make associations about a lot of things using this concept. Not all the time. It's not always right? You got to be careful. But a lot of times it helps. So I can hear the rhyme between what the Israelis are doing here and what the Americans did then. What did they? And so I don't necessarily have, I'm not there, but I'm here for sure, right? I'm for sure here. It's part of my history. I'm for sure here. And I'm looking back here. I'm like, okay, so what happened here? The settlers came in, harassed the natives, and if the natives fought back, the U.S. Army sent the army in to kill the natives until they gave up, essentially, or they were murdered and killed and wiped off the face of the earth. Over and over, and then the settlers would come in and they would do it to the next set of neighbors, over and over and over again, to the Mexicans, because the Mexicans, remember, the West, a lot of the West was owned by Mexico. And it was settled by Mexicans. By Mexicans, they set up their deal there. They set up everything there. Mexican citizens were living there. They had no say in the fact that the United States conquered that whole fucking shit. Just fucking up and conquered it with violence. But they were told. They didn't flee, right? They didn't immediately flee. Like when your land is conquered by a conquesting army, generally the conquesting army is not nice to the people who were there first. It's kind of the whole idea behind conquesting. Why conquest if you're going to be nice to the people who already live there? Like, why would you imagine sending your army thousands of miles, costing you so much money, with all this guns and stuff, all this violence? You send your armies thousands of miles to the town, and you finally come to the town, and you're like here, like, oh, I'm here to the town. Well, I'm not gonna touch or do anything. I'm not gonna touch or do anything. I'm gonna leave it like it is. I'm just gonna leave it like it is and keep on trucking. Have fun, guys. What a nice town you have here. All right, see you later. Come on, army, let's go. No, dude, no. If you send your army into conquest, you're in there to pillage, either take over or pillage whatever's there. You're not there to be nice to the people who live there. You're there to take their shit or kill them. So that's what the settlers did. Even though the government made a deal with the people, the Mexicans who lived there, who set up their farms and stuff, even though they made a deal, the government, the settlers broke their deal and killed the Mexicans or stole their land, killed the natives or stole their land, over and over and over again. And until they made the United States the way it is now. I know through examination of this period of history and how and the trauma that continues to flow out of this period of history. I know this is bad. This is bad. This is fucking terrible. I'm working my ass off right now trying to undo the damage or try to heal the damage that this has caused. I know this is, in my history, this is bad. So when I hear the rhyme over here, I'm like, how can you do this when I know this is bad? How can you be doing this, dudes? How can you be doing this? I know what this is. This is genocide. I know it's genocide because this is what's inside the United States. How can we be supporting this? It's a sticky question. I don't have the answer. But I know what I see. I hear the rhyme, and I know what I can say this is genocide. Eric Erickson. I guess he's a right-wing guy. He says, guys, Trump admitted on TV tonight he withheld documents from the grand jury. Game over, legally. What an idiot. Donald Trump confessed that he withheld documents. He confessed to it on national television. He said, "Yep, I did not give them the documents when they asked me to." Here, it's not me saying it. This is a right-wing guy saying it, Eric Erickson. And he explains it. The problem with Trump's interview with Brett Baer is that Trump has the right not to testify in his federal trial, but the prosecutor can admit the video wherein Trump admits he kept documents from the grand jury because he still wanted to go through them. So, Trump would testify against himself through that clip. Do you understand? When the government brings Donald Trump to trial, Donald Trump has the right to remain silent. The government cannot compel him to testify against himself. But the government can use what he already said. What he already said. And they'll put it up there. And they'll say, well, Donald Trump doesn't want to testify. That's his right. He cannot testify. Let us show you what he already said. Oh, he already said that he has them. You don't need to hear what Donald Trump said because he already told you what he did. Then, the only thing Donald Trump could do is to testify to say, well, I didn't mean that. That's like and then he get torn apart, in cross-examination. He's toast. He's toast. He's done, right? The only thing that could save him now is Eileen Cannon, who is the judge that Trump himself appointed, and is the judge who already showed ridiculous bias toward Trump at the last time she had a trial before him, or Trump's trial before her. She already showed incredible bias. So yeah, in other words, if this was a regular trial, he'd be done for. But we know he has the judge in his pocket. So we have to see how much of an advantage this judge can give him. Remember I told you about how Russia weaponized a nuclear power plant? This is how they did it. Situation at the Russian-occupied Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is extremely fragile. Now more than ever, all sides must fully adhere to the IAEA's basic principles designed to prevent a nuclear accident. We will intensify our efforts to help ensure nuclear safety and security, while also providing assistance to the affected region in other ways, Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Rafael Grossi, has said in a statement. Because you have to understand, Russia invaded Ukraine and now controls the city where this nuclear power plant is. So that means they're responsible for its operation. Civilians have to keep working there. Even if the Russians invaded, they have to keep working. So what the Russians did is they set up a bunch of their guns near the power plants so that if they can shoot the Ukrainians from the nuclear power plant, but the Ukrainians cannot return fire lest they hit the nuclear power plant and start a destruction, a nuclear failure. Okay, the other problem is, even if the Russians lose control of the city without having the nuclear power plant destroyed, the Russians have already mined it to destroy the nuclear power plant the same way that the Russians destroyed the dam. Remember when the Russians blew up that dam and flooded out that city? They're going to do the same thing to the nuclear power plant. That's really, really, really scary. Because what that will do is create a nuclear cloud that spreads over all of Europe. So you're going to have people not even involved in the war, thousands and thousands of miles away, getting fucking cancer from radiation from the blown up thing that they can't do anything about because the cancer fucking goes into you breathe it in and it goes into your fucking thyroid. So, as you know, what happened was this guy, Prigozhin, staged a rebellion and marched his troops on Moscow. He did so because he says he doesn't trust this guy. This guy is named Shogu. Shogu is the general in charge of the Russian military. He's underneath Putin. And this guy, Kadyrov, is the leader of the Chechenian state. Remember, Russia is imperialistic, right? Russia invades its neighbors to control them. Well, one of the regions invaded was Chechnya, and the Chechenian people, which is Islam, so they're not really, they're not like necessarily compatible with Russia, which is Orthodox Christian. So for a while, the Chechenians were rebelling against Russia until the Russians did like a horrible suppression of their people, and then the Russians found a warlord who would suppress their people for them. You know, it's like if we pay you a bunch of money, then you will repress your people for us. And the guy said, "Okay, I'll do that." And that guy was this guy, Kadyrov. So he suppresses the Chechenians. And he has his own little Chechenian army and shit. But he represses his people so that they stay loyal to Russia for a price, right? The Russians have to pay him. Same thing with this guy. Prigozhin is the head of the Wagner group. The Wagner is a mercenary group, a Russian mercenary group. Like, they only work for Russia because Russia pays them, and they'll do anything that Russia wants them to do. And then that way, Russia can say, "I didn't do it. It was a private mercenary group." That way, Russia keeps, plausible deniability. And then this guy is like the official Russian guy. Well, ever since this guy invaded, now, it was like a 24-hour like rebellion. It was over almost 24 hours before it started. It was crazy. But something's gonna happen, right? That situation is unstable. These warlords cannot maintain this kind of situation. Do I have coffee? I don't have coffee going. What's that blah 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 noise? No? Okay. They can't maintain that situation. So somebody's gonna die here. Somebody's gonna die. Either the head of the Russian military, the head of the Wagner group, or this guy's gonna try to make a move to take over escape from the Russian, either take over Russia or escape from the Russian sphere, and he's gonna get taken out. Who knows what's gonna happen between these three, right? The situation in Russia is all messed up, and the reason why is because they failed to invade Ukraine. It was their failed invasion of Ukraine. Stefanik celebrates the anniversary of women losing the rights to their bodies. Stefanik is a Nazi. Fuck her. Alright, takeaway. My biggest takeaway from the Titan story is that we absolutely could have coordinated multinational efforts to ensure no migrant dies crossing the sea, and we choose not to. Because we did it for a bunch of billionaires, why can't we do it for poor people? Chaos erupts inside Japan's parliament as lawmakers brawl over a refugee bill. So one of Japan's problems is that their people are not reproducing. It's really expensive for Japanese people to work or to live in Japan. They have to work really hard to maintain what they have. Warded Grove. So much of it's such a big deal that they have to work so hard to maintain what they have that they don't hang out anymore with each other just to be creative and have sex and to make kids. So their population is in decline. So that's a big problem, because if the population declines, that means there's no young people to work. If they have no young people to work, then that means there's no one to take care of the old people and no one to replenish the pension that the old people are using to live on. So Japan needs to increase its birth rate, or it needs to increase immigration. Either one. You either increase your birth rate or you increase your immigration. Well, the birth rate's not going up. Japanese people are not having more babies. They're just not making babies. So the alternative is to, well, you need to then import people. You need to import workers and young people, refugees, immigrants, someone. But inside Japan, there's a strong feeling. Xenophobia, racism, I don't know. It's a discomfort with external cultures coming into Japan. They're afraid of losing their purity, I guess. I don't know. But but you have to remember that's like a bad way of being, because nothing is pure in this world. And attempts to maintain purity will lead to extinction. Not because a focused effort against purity, but because purity leads to extinction. Purity can't exist here. It can't exist here. Everything has to like meld together or like work together, cooperate, meld together on some form or another. Not completely, but on some level. So to that end, Japan tried to pass a bill that would allow refugees to come to Japan. However, the conservative elements of Japanese politics foiled the plan and passed an anti-refugee bill. Well, don't mistake it. Don't mistake the movement of the government for the spirit of the people. I'm telling you, I live there. I know, right? I know the spirit of the people isn't necessarily reflected in the movement of the government. The spirit of the Japanese people is very welcoming, very open to new ideas and new ways of thinking and new ways of being. They're very, very open to it, and they're accepting of it. However, there's also a subset of Japanese who are not open to it, and not at all. And they do like terrible things. I was there for it. When I was in Osaka, they would drive black vans up and down the main streets, blaring anti-foreigner propaganda in Japan to make Japanese people hate foreigners. Right? So there is a strain of xenophobia and racism inside Japan that a lot of people have already overcome. So I know the Japanese people are great. So here's an example of that the government doesn't necessarily reflect the people. This guy, Taro Yamamoto, literally tried to use his body to stop the leader from signing the bill. He literally tried to stop the bill from signing. Check it out. It's crazy. He's like fighting. He's like, ah! Look at him fight. See it again. Look at that. He was like, ah! Trying to jump over. And they're like, no, we're gonna sign it anyways. Pretty crazy, dude. So no, not all Japanese people are racist, xenophobic people, but they do have their own little element. You gotta watch out because they have their own. They have their bad element, just like every society has their bad element. Understand the gravity of the situation. Almost more than anything else, the direction of Western civilization has been changed because the U.S. chose Biden and not Trump as president. Trump was doing all he could to weaken every alliance that might resist Russia. NATO was next on the chopping block. Truth. Here's Donald Trump confessing to his crime.
I don't want to dwell on it, but according to the indictment, you were here at Bedminster on July 21st, 2021, after you're no longer president, and you were recorded saying that you had a document detailing a plan of attack on another country that was prepared by the U.S. military for you when you were president, the Iran attack plan. You remember that?
Ready?
You were recorded.
It wasn't a document.
Okay.
I had lots of paper. I had copies of newspaper articles. I had copies of magazines.
I know. This is specifically a quote. You're quoted on the recording saying the document was secret, adding that you could have declassified it while you were president, but, quote, now I can't. You know this is still secret, highly confidential. And the indictment cites the recording and the testimony from people in the room saying you showed it to people there that day. So you say on this on tape
it says just the opposite,
that you can't declassify it. So why have it?
When I said that I couldn't declassify it now, that's because I wasn't president. I never made any bones about that. When I'm not president, I can't declassify it.
And that's what you said. You didn't declassify it.
I said no. I said I couldn't.
Could have
but that wasn't a
declassified
document, Brett. There was no document. That was a massive amount of papers and everything else talking about Iran and other things. And it may have been held up or may not, but that was not a document. I didn't have a document per se. There was nothing to declassify. These were newspaper stories, magazine stories, and articles.
I'm just saying what the indictment says.
Well,
the recording
people,
and the people in the room who testified.
These people are very dishonest people. They're thugs. They're thugs. If you look at what they've done to other people, what they've done to, and overturned in the U.S. Supreme Court, these are thugs.
The suggestion was that you wanted this as evidence that the military, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Milley, had preemptively sent you plans for a possible attack on Iran and that you didn't order that to happen. That's the suggestion.
I never ordered it to happen, no.
But
no.
that's why you wanted the document.
I don't think I've ever seen a document from Milley. Milley, frankly, was incompetent. The last one I'd want to attack with as my leader would be Milley. That I can tell you.
All right,
but I
last
think
thing on
that.
this.
So, I think he confessed in the beginning. Like, that he had the documents, and he didn't give them back. But yeah, now that Donald Trump, that we know Donald Trump is a traitor, he's got the majority of the Republicans behind him. And look at that. For some reason, Biden is barely beating Donald Trump and barely beating DeSantis. How is that even possible? Biden's been amazing. Like, I can't believe it. Like, imagine if Biden wasn't president and it was Donald Trump instead. We'd be fucked. We now have 2 Trump DOJ-era prosecutors in Hunter Biden and Russia investigators who did not find any of the crazy MAGA claims that were promised. These were Trump's own appointees. It's time to move on. As Texas swelters, local rules requiring water breaks for construction workers will soon be nullified. Governor Greg Abbott approved this week a law that will eliminate city and county ordinances like Austin and Dallas's mandated water breaks. So, right next to, look how fucking hot it is. So, Greg Abbott, Republican, said it's illegal for these governments to give these workers water breaks. Look how hot it gets, dude. That just shows you Republicans are Nazis. I don't know how else to tell you. Hard to understate how insane this is. Okay, so remember how there's that 24-hour rebellion? Well, that Wagner guy took over Rostov. Rostov has over 1 million people. It's Russia's 11th most populated city and a military hub. It's like as if disgruntled Blackwater vets seized San Diego against little to no resistance. It's like the same thing. It's amazing that it happened. That's what I'm saying. It can only happen if Russia has literally like no army left. That the whole Russian army is literally in Ukraine. That's the only way it could happen. Oh yeah. So why did Elon Musk censor tweets that were critical of the Modi government in India? Why? Because the Modi government invested a bunch of money into Tesla. That's why. So since the Modi government invested money into Tesla, Elon Musk used his power on Twitter to stop any tweets that would be critical of Modi. That way Modi could win the election and deliver on his promise of giving Musk money. Corruption. That's why billionaires shouldn't exist. Alright, I've gone on for fucking ever. I'm so tired. So tired, but that's alright. Keep on trucking. It's the longest lesson ever, because it's kind of a way of me like just recording of what's going on. Like, it's kind of clear, it's really clear in my head that Donald Trump was a traitor. But it might not be clear in other people's heads. So I gotta keep telling them what's up so they know what's going on. And clearly it's not clear in other people's heads because we have people posting Nazi shit on their Facebook page as they're the mayor of a fucking city in Oregon. That Matt Diaz guy shouldn't even be mayor, dude. That guy's a hater. Fuck Matt Diaz. Alright, I'm done for now. I will catch you another time, another place. Pogo Kiddo out. Peace. Stop.